EAGLES, Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. We continue now to roll into the NFL offseason, and things are heating up quick, including a move in the NFC East. We'll tell you about that. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Thursday morning, my friend?
Doing well. The floor has been raised in East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Yes, it
has. The floor
has
been raised.
John, why don't you tell the people what went on for those who missed it? Broke late last night around midnight, Johnny Mac.
John Harbaugh, the new head coach of the New York Football Giants. They didn't let him out they let him out of the building, but he had meetings scheduled with Tennessee and Atlanta, and they made sure that he never got to those meetings. So the rare good decision, in my opinion, by the Giants, at least over the past decade or so, when they've just been a complete shit show. And this is going to make them better, and they're not going to be a laughing stock. Now, they got a long way to go, but you got a culture builder, proven guy. And as I said, that's how I describe it. The floor has been raised. And for all the Todd Monken fans, he is going as expected with John Harbaugh to the Giants to be his offensive coordinator there. So you can scratch him off your want lists.
Yep, scratch it off the list, Johnny Mac.
And so, it's almost hard for the NFC East not to be better than last season. But I think the New York Giants are the first team that has taken a big step forward. Now, they have a long way to go because they've been making bad decisions for a very long time. It's not like he's a magician. Again, you still need talent, and they need to get better on both sides of the football. But this guy's not going to be a disaster like many of the coaches they've had in the previous, since moving on from Tom Coughlin.
Yeah, we're going to see how that is and how that works in New York. My message to Howie yesterday remains the same today. Be aggressive and don't rest on your laurels because teams are going to get better. Look at the AFC, a whole bunch of new playoff teams. Teams will get better. So let's see. Eagles got to get better as well this summer. John, a little bit of news in Eagle land just in terms of names they're interested in. You and I have publicly stated that we don't think Mike McDaniel is a good fit, and he pops up on Diana Rossini's short list of names, including Brian Daboll, that the Eagles are highly interested in. Mike McDaniel and Brian Daboll. There's a couple others out there. John, what's the latest in the Eagles offensive coordinator coach?
Yeah, I think the more important part of all these leaks, and they're generally, remember, these are coming from the agent side, not the, generally, not the Eagles side. So
that's how it works most of the time.
Yeah, generally. So I mean, you have to take them with a grain of salt. I do know my more concerning issue is not names or anything of that nature. It's Josina Anderson saying, basically what I said, these candidates are going to interview the Eagles, not the opposite way around. That was my concern. And that's evidently what is happening, in that the high-profile candidates like a Mike McDaniel are basically asking questions about autonomy and if they'll be left alone to do what they do. And the Eagles are generally willing to guarantee, I'm trying to get her tweet up, guarantee no interference.
Yeah, I saw it.
Like, that's a bad way to do business. Now, again, like the last time the same thing happened, and believe me, because I wrote, a quick thing on, I wrote a whole story on SI.com if people want to check that out, but quickly on Twitter, and of course it got a lot of Eagles fans upset. I said that's a bad way of doing business if that's the way they're doing business. And I got a bunch of Kellen Moore stuff. Say that to Kellen Moore. First of all, how are you an Eagles fan and think that's how that unfolded? When you got Devontae Smith and Jason Kelsey and Saquon Barkley and Jordan Mailata telling you it's the same damn offense from last year. And Jason Kelsey flat out said it's basically the same offense since 2021.
Isn't that how they reported it, though, John? This is where I think
it is the way they reported it.
It makes people not know what's going on. It drives me nuts.
It is the way it was reported, but it wasn't true.
Yeah, no, I know it's not true. My point is that we have a whole disconnect because of the way it's reported as opposed to what's true. And then it creates,
Exactly. And then it's like you shut off your mind and say, you didn't see what happened. First of all, because I said the same thing at the time. I said, if they're giving Kellen Moore complete autonomy, they might as well fire Nick Sirianni. I said that. I say it today.
Right.
You can't run an organization like that. And for a team that prides itself, for an organization that prides itself on being among the NFL's best and has been among the NFL's best and ahead of the curve and all these things, you can't run a business like that. Now, in their defense, they didn't. Because right away I knew that was bullshit when the coaching staff got put together. And Kellen was given two guys, basically. Doug Nussmeier, his longtime right-hand man, to be the quarterback's coach, and Kyle Valero, who's somebody who left with him to go to New Orleans and nobody knew because he's a quality control guy. That's it. Now, they were open to sort of doing what Kellen did so well in Dallas and the Chargers, and that's what they were hoping for, to sort of mesh the two things together. But Nick Sirianni stated very early in the process, look, we're still going to do what we do well. So it was clearly, the report was clearly, I don't want to say bullshit, but it was clearly incorrect, at least to a certain extent. Now, again, everything's semantics. They did give him, they wanted to evolve. They wanted to do more things. They wanted him to bring in his concepts to marry with the concepts that were successful here. All of that is true.
Right.
And by the way, Kellen deserves a lot of credit for not being an idiot and saying, all right, this isn't working. So I'm going to scale back and do what we do well. Like how can an Eagles fan not know what's going on to that level? Because somebody in the spring of, what year was that? 2024 said, oh, they're going to give Kellen Moore complete autonomy. Well, you saw they didn't. Now, that to me is a good sign, by the way. Because no matter what you say, I find it very hard to believe they're going to say, like, why would you want to run a business that way? You're the head coach of the football team, but don't stick your head in what Mike McDaniel, if Mike McDaniel's the guy you're going to hire. Don't stick your head into, and I only use Mike because he's the one that would be a drastic change from what they've been doing.
Well, I guess the question, though, would be, John, I agree with you. You can't castrating that. I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word to use, but effectively doing it that way is not a good way to do business. But if you do, let's just say they want to bring in a guy like Mike McDaniel, which I don't know, but how do you get him to want to come here? Because he's not going to want to run Nick's offense. So where's the gray area where you want to change your offensive scheme, you bring somebody in, but you also do it where you don't make the head man coach a dead man walking.
Well, number one,
by the way, less than 12 months after they were lifted a Lombardi.
Yeah, well, number one, there's two ways you can look at it. No, number one, there's no guarantee you're getting Mike McDaniel anyway. He's in Tampa, I think, today or yesterday. Talking to them about their OC job. He might get a head coaching job. He got 9 of them. Well, now you have 8 of them. So as these things get picked off, even if you're not somebody's first choice, maybe you end up being their second or third choice, and you're right back in the seat as a head coach. So there's a lot of competition for a guy like that, and that's why I think Daboll is more realistic. Number one, and number two, I think he'd be better fit for what the Eagles are doing. Now, while I say that, if Jeffrey and Howie truly want to move away from what they're doing, well, that's fine. And you want to force evolution, that's fine. And you want to find out about the quarterback, that's fine. But again, then you have to make larger changes, which is your right. But the worst thing to me is the straddling the fence. Or we're going to keep this guy. We're going to keep, and that might even keep Kevin Patullo. We're going to keep this guy. We're going to, and some people look at that. Well, that's a good insurance policy. I don't know. You're never going to change to what you want to be offensively by having insurance policies. And it's strange here's the problem with Nick as the head coach. If you want them to evolve to the off, he's going to try to win games on Saturday or Sunday or Friday or Thursday. You can't say Sunday anymore. I'm making fun of the NFL because there's so many different games. But you get the point on game day. He's going to try to win the game. So ultimately, it goes back to the quarterback. And by the way, if Mike McDaniel's a good coach, as good as people proclaim, he will shift his offense around the quarterback as well.
Well, he runs the West Coast, John. I mean, can I just ask a simple question here for you to leave the quarterback out of it for a second? Doesn't that require like an entirely new, even run scheme? Don't they use the extension to the run, the short, the intermediate stuff, the jet sweeps, all that stuff? I mean, we don't even have the personnel for that.
But that's presuming that he's going to say, I'm only playing this style of offense.
Yeah, but isn't that how most of those guys are? I mean, Sean McVay traded the number 1 overall pick to get the quarterback he wanted to stay so he could run the offense he wanted. Kyle Shanahan, they spent 3 first-round draft picks. The guy, he shipped them out. He said, I'm going to run my offense. These are guys who got to the league and buttered their bread on their offense. Now you're going to ask them to change? I mean, it feels to me like they'll just take a different job.
Well, there's nothing. Well, they might. They might want to do that. There's nothing wrong with having a scheme or trying. But the best coaches, you utilize what you have while trying to get players that fit your scheme, and then when you get players that fit your scheme, you can run your full bore scheme. Those are the best coaches, and that's what Nick Sirianni's basically done. He doesn't want to run this shit.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that.
I mean, I do think there's a crux here. I mean, SMD puts in a comment. Let's go to it. And because it's relevant to exactly what we're talking about. Good morning. With Stoutland also being the run game coordinator, would they consider parting ways with him for a new OC scheme taking over the offense completely? I know that sounds crazy on the surface, but that is what Stoutland does. Yeah, I mean, that would make sense if they are going to go the Mike McDaniel route.
One of the reasons Kyle Kingsbury wasn't here, Cliff Kingsbury, wasn't here is because he wanted to move on from various position coaches, and the Eagles didn't want to move on from them. And while I can't confirm that was one of them was Jeff Stoutland, there was a lot of rumors that one of them was Jeff Stoutland, and they weren't willing to go that way. I don't think I said it. I don't think the Eagles would ever fire Jeff Stoutland, but you could see, he was thinking about retirement a couple years ago. You could see one of those mutual retirement. Remember Jim Schwartz retired for 3 weeks. They weren't firing. They weren't firing Jim Schwartz.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
So I could see it going down like that. They're not
this can be an interesting search. I don't know how quickly they'll get it. So, John, the names that have come out so far, we obviously just mentioned Mike McDaniel. Josina Anderson also put out Cliff Kingsbury and Kevin Stefanski, also 2 guys that we mentioned. I never thought Stefanski. I think he's going to get a head coach.
He's going to get a head. Yeah, I think Tennessee's going to shift to him. I think, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out there. But the New York Giants have added John Harbaugh. It's going to be interesting to see what the Eagles end up doing here with their offensive coordinator search. I want to thank and welcome everybody for being here today. We got a good show. We got Ed Kracz coming up in a little bit. I've been waiting to talk to Ed, so looking forward to talking to Ed. And then in hour number 2, we're going to have Kaden Steel. So we'll have 2 great guests for you guys today.
Good
Input.
I'll let those guys talk about this shit show.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, John. I wonder how much they are, looking to make this type of drastic change. I know the offense is, obviously what it is, but part of me wonders if it's the right offense for the personnel, and then you're going to bring in potentially a guy like a Mike McDaniel. It's going to be interesting to see what they will do. But Todd Monken has gone to the New York Giants, and then also in the NFC East, John, the Cowboys have requested an interview now for Christian Parker and also Jonathan Gannon. So a couple Eagle ties there that could end up in Dallas. I think Christian Parker would be a home run if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan. Just based on the way people speak about him, just hearing him speak for the few times we have heard him speak. What do you make of that? Dallas Cowboys interviewing Christian Parker. That'd be a big loss for the Birds.
Not surprised that he's getting interviews. He got interviews last year. Got 2, I think, but yeah, not a big enough name. I don't think you have to worry about it for Jerry. So from the standpoint of good experience to get that, I think obviously he's going to be a defensive coordinator at some point. And again, you have a lot of openings. So just because I don't think he's going to get the Cowboys job because of the way they do business, that doesn't mean he wouldn't get somebody else's job. And that's, part of life in the NFL. If guys get opportunities, they're going to go, and you're only going to have them for a finite amount of time. And I think Christian's in that category, but I don't think the Cowboys are going to hire him.
We'll see what ends up happening there. Giants definitely are going to get better with John Harbaugh, so we're going to see here. John, of the candidates, who do you think is the best fit? Who would you, if you were the Eagles owner, who would you hire or make a hard push to hire?
Well, I'm operating with trying to maximize what they have, and I don't know if they're operating that way. I think they might be at the breaking point of saying we just want to change this offense. So there's 2 kind of parts of the equation, and I'm just trying to tell people, even though they're not going to listen, I'm operating from the standpoint of trying to maximize what they have currently. And that's the head coach of Nick Sirianni and the quarterback of Jalen Hurts mainly. And then you'll see what they do personnel-wise. And for that instance, I've already said it, Brian Daboll would be my guy. He's got, not only does he have history with Jalen Hurts, and some of them may be bad. We don't know. Got to get over that hurdle, but it's been a long time. But they seem to have a good relationship from when they've talked about him. He's got a relationship with Nick Sirianni. They have a very good relationship. He's coached Saquon Barkley. Saquon loves him. He's had extensive experience with dual threat quarterbacks in the pros with Daniel Jones and Josh Allen. He's a good experienced play call. He checks every box. If you're trying to further maximize what you already have.
Right.
The box he doesn't check is the style points box that everybody wants checked. That's what McDaniel checks.
Yeah, to me, I'm with you. You got to maximize what you got. We'll see what they end up doing, but I'll tell you this: the NFC East just got better. All right, the New York Giants hired John Harbaugh. Probably the best coach that they've had in a while. I think he's going to steady the ship in New York, John. Let's see if Joe Schoen can make the decisions to put the right players. Joe Shane, or whatever it is. Shane. I don't know. All right, good stuff. We got Ed Kracz in the green room. I'm looking forward to talking to Ed. Let's bring him up right now. Here you can follow him at Kratz E. He joins us right now on the program. Eddie K, what's going on, man?
Hey, long time no see, Zander. How you doing?
How you been, man? Good season now in the rear view, Ed. Another good one for you, brother.
Yeah. For I don't know how good it ended, right? I mean, it wasn't the ending a lot of people had hoped for, I guess. But here we are in the offseason. And what would you rather be talking about? A playoff matchup against the Chicago Bears, or who's going to be the next offensive coordinator?
Well,
for
I'm already
Eagles?
fed up with the offensive coordinator stuff, Ed. I don't know where you are, but man, didn't we go through that? We went through this last time with the Eagles are giving complete autonomy to Kellen Moore. It wasn't the case, and here we are again. They have to give complete autonomy to one of these guys. If that's the case this time, how is that a good way of doing business? Look, if you don't like Nick Sirianni, I don't have any problem with that. But show the courage of your convictions. If you don't want the guy to be the head coach and give him the autonomy to be the head coach, why is he here?
Nick, why is he here? Listen, I think Nick does a lot of stuff that is beyond the X's and O's. You know that, John. You see the culture that he builds and the locker room that he instills the culture. And I thought Nakobe Dean said it best after the game when he told me that, he wants to bring that culture. If it's here or somewhere else, it's probably going to be somewhere else, but he wants to bring that kind of culture and that sort of camaraderie that Nick has preached in that locker room. And so, when you can get everybody to buy in, and there are outliers, obviously, but I think that's part of being a head coach too, is fostering that chemistry and that connection. We use it kind of as a punchline, his 5 pillars, right? Of whatever: connection, accountability, competition, whatever they are.
He shipped it to Tough Detail together.
Yeah, I know.
Now I think they got to make new T-shirts, because if Vic's running the defense and Mike McDaniel's running the offense, maybe it's Tough, Detailed, and separate. I don't know. Well, doesn't make sense to me.
Mike McDaniel, he was in charge of the offense, and Vic Fangio was in charge of the defense when they were together in Miami. Now, if you have someone that's going to completely run the offense here in Philadelphia, then you're right. What the perception is, what's Nick going to do? But my contention is he's going to do a lot of stuff behind the scenes to keep this team together and to keep guys buying in, because every year the team changes.
Well, I agree. It's a much bigger job, to your point, and there's a ton of shit. I'm not saying what does Nick do. Nick does a ton of shit. What I'm trying to say is, Ed, is you can't take away the head coach, any head coach. You can't take away any head coach's ability to step in and say, well, this is wrong in this particular situation on game day. They're the head coach. They have to have that veto power. You may not use it often. He may agree not, but he has to have it. He had it with Kellen. So maybe these reports are all, bullshit, or at least a little bit off base. I'm just saying, if that is the case, as it's been reported, I think that's a bad way of doing business. And I think you've just started the clock on wasting another season, because you're going to be moving on from the head coach after next season. That's my opinion.
Well, it's a valid opinion. We'll see what it all looks like. I'm not sure that Nick wouldn't have veto power, or some say in what's being run. The two of them, whoever this OC is going to be, and Nick, I am sure will discuss things, and maybe they'll mix in some of Nick's principles and concepts, kind of like what Kellen, he did that with Kellen. Some of his stuff was used in Kellen Moore's system. So, I would be surprised if that wasn't the case, that he is given some input. I mean, he is the head coach. So, I think it's a little too early to kind of say, hey, this is the way it's going to be. I don't think, we're at that point yet to say, okay, Nick, you're not going to have any say. You just stand over there and clap.
It's so bizarre to me.
It is.
And to the point where I kind of think it is off base, the report. So, but we'll see. Yeah. But I'm just saying, if that is the case, I don't think that's a good way to do business for the Philadelphia Eagles. I just don't.
I would agree with that too.
Hey, let me ask you. Yeah, season's over. We're going to talk about this OC probably for next, until they get it done, and we'll talk about it more later on in the segment. But how do you view the what the season was? Yeah, do you view it as Kevin Patullo let him down? Do you view it as Kevin Patullo was scapegoated, and he wasn't the number one problem? How do you kind of view the Eagles coming short of their expectations this year?
Yeah, I think Kevin Patullo had a hand in it for sure, but I think to pin it all on Kevin Patullo isn't the right right move here. I think that there are a lot of factors, and I think the players have to, and what Nakobe Dean likes to say a lot is nut up. The players needed to nut up, and to me, they just lacked focus all season. They didn't seem to have that same sense of urgency that took them to a Super Bowl. They were banged up. But when you talk to some of the players, and Devontae Smith especially, he talks about it just being a matter of execution, and execution falls on the players. And if you don't execute, you can't fire 53 players or however many players you have. It's the old saying that you can only fire one person, and that's the coach. So, I think Patullo was complicit in the way he ran this offense, but you can't let the players off the hook here either. And I don't think you can let the assistant coaches like Jeff Stoutland. How good was this offensive line this year? I mean, Jeff Stoutland's a god in this town. He walks on water, but how complicit was he? I know the guys were banged up, but where was the depth? Where was the development of some of those backup players? Guys like Matt Pryor, he was a liability when he came in. Look at Aaron Moorhead. I mean, how good of a receivers coach was he when his receivers can't get open very often? And when they do, it's these little hook routes. So, I think it's everybody. I don't think it's Patullo, but yeah, he's the guy at the top. He's the face of the offense, and you can't get rid of everybody, so you get rid of that guy.
Exactly.
Personnel wise, you can get rid of some people. One, most notably, could be AJ Brown. Ed, I kind of chuckled at this until about, I don't know, somewhere about week 10-ish, and I started to say, maybe this will be his last season in Philadelphia, despite all the cap ramifications. If you're a betting man, Ed Kracz, is AJ Brown going to be with this team next season?
Well, I wrote something that it's time for them to move on. I just think AJ was unhappy all season, and he was unfocused. And I think that's why we saw so many drop passes from AJ Brown, is he just didn't have that same focus because he wasn't happy. So my contention is that, yeah, they should move on from him to make him happy. And to kind of take him out of the locker room where, you might have some impressionable younger players, guys like Darius Cooper, whose role could be a little bit bigger next year. But, you don't want them to be learning from someone that isn't happy in a locker room. So I think a change of scenery would do both parties well. Now, you mentioned the cap ramifications. I think it's $20 million if you trade him before June 1st with a big dead cap hit. But I think after June 1st, it's better.
Yeah.
But the Eagles, I don't think, if they feel like this is the right thing to do, would be afraid of that. We saw them get rid of Carson Wentz, and they had a big cap hit. And I think it was a $33 million cap hit back then, which was the highest in the NFL. So, I don't think that would scare the Eagles from potentially moving on from him. Now, that said, it depends who the OC is. If they bring in somebody that is like a Mike McDaniel or someone who's allowed to bring in these new concepts and this new system, maybe that appeases AJ for another year. The problem there is you still have the issue with the quarterback. I don't think AJ is very happy with the way Jalen Hurts runs the offense or what's being asked of him. He's risk adverse, as we've talked about before. And I think AJ wants him to throw the ball to him, even if he's covered, and let him go up and make a play. And AJ can still do that. I just think this season he just wasn't happy with the system and what they were teaching Hurts. So maybe a new offensive coordinator will help appease AJ. Maybe they'll make him happy, and maybe they hang on to him.
I think you're 100% spot on about he was unhappy here, clearly. That led to a lack of focus, and the lack of focus is what ultimately leads to drops in the wild card game. That's exactly how I saw it as well. Ed, how big of a variable is Jalen Hurts' legs specifically in this point in the offseason where they're looking for a new OC, potentially bringing in a new offense? There was reports earlier in the year that Jalen doesn't really want to run anymore. His numbers were down across the board. We thought maybe it would pick up in the playoffs. They tried. They had the flag, brought it back. Only ended up with 15 yards, I believe, on the ground in the playoffs. How big of a variable is Jalen Hurts' legs? I mean, Ed, he is a dual threat. That's kind of why you paid him, because he could break defenses' backs in multiple ways. How big of a variable do you see that?
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't run him more. But then when you look at the runs that he did have, man, he looks kind of slow. Like he is 27. He'll be 28 to start next season. I mean, eventually, those legs, they're not as fast as they used to be when you came into the league at 22 years old or however old he was. And then guys are coming into the league that are 22 years old. They're 6 years younger than Jalen Hurts. So they're going to be faster. And to me, it just looked like he didn't move as well. He didn't look as fast. He had a hard time getting to the edge and picking up more than a yard or two, or losing yards, or just running out of bounds. Those days of Jalen Hurts' legs being that, that second threat that he has could be coming to an end here, because I just didn't even see when he did run that burst and that quickness that he had in the past. So if you take that away, then you're just left with Jalen Hurts, the passer, and are the Eagles comfortable with that? We'll see.
Are you
Lane Johnson? Sorry, Zander. Lane Johnson's the other big name on offense. Look, I don't think he wants to go out like this, but missing his last 8 games. So my presumption is he'll come back and try to run it back for at least one more year. But before he got injured, he started to talk about retirement. One of the issues he would talk about when he was talking was that he had been healthy for a number of years after that terrible ankle injury that he suffered that was really difficult for him to get over. And the injuries could change his perspective. And here we are with injuries. Do you expect Lane Johnson? Because that is a dramatic shift for the Philadelphia Eagles. You talked about the lack of ability to develop those backups. And, you do have bodies. You have Cam Williams, you have Miles Hinton, but those guys can't replace Lane Johnson.
No. I don't think anybody really can replace Lane Johnson, at least even if they draft a rookie, unless this rookie's going to be an all-rookie player, and maybe he will be. But it's a tough thing to do to replace Lane Johnson. It sure would have been nice to get some kind of perspective from Lane. We all know he didn't say anything to us after, I think it was October
Giants
9th.
Game.
Yeah, that was October 9th. He went to Minnesota, and I was in the locker room in Minnesota, and he was doing an interview on the phone. He got off of the phone. There's about 6 of us waiting to talk to him. And he said he's not doing interviews anymore. And, we're like, geez, Lane, you just gave one on the phone. Why not us? And he's like, I'm not talking. But I think he was upset because he thinks maybe his words were taken out of context about the offense being too predictable and needing more variety, that kind of thing. But it would have been nice to get his perspective and see how he feels. Because to me, Lane's kind of been all over the map with this retirement thing. You ask him one day and he's like, yeah, I want to keep playing. I want to play till I'm 40. If my body holds up. Then you hear, well, I might retire. So, you don't know what he's thinking. And I would be surprised if this is the way he wants to go out, having missed the last 8 games of the year and tried to get healthy. He came out to practice. Everybody thought he was going to play against the 49ers, but he just couldn't get rid of that pain and swelling in his foot. I would be surprised too. But if he does return and play, then the question is, he's going to be 36 years old, I think, in May. Can he be counted on to make it through a 14th NFL season completely healthy? My answer would probably not. So, yeah, you're going to have to figure it out. Even if he comes back, you're going to have somebody in place to back him up. I mean, Fred Johnson's good. I don't think you want to turn it over to Fred Johnson. I'm not sure Fred's coming back. His contract's up. He was really beaten up after the game. He really liked it here. He seemed like he was on his – he felt like this was his last game as an Eagle. But you never know. Maybe they bring him back. He's a decent backup, but he's not – I don't think he's a starter. I don't think you can put him in there for Lane. So to me, it becomes a priority now in the draft to go out and find somebody. Go out and find a right tackle that can come in here, or a left tackle who can play right tackle, whatever, and start making him ready to go if Lane does come back for that day when Lane might get hurt again. And if he doesn't, it's a redshirt year. That's fine. You can sit and learn behind Lane and learn Stoutland's techniques. If Stoutland's back, I have to couch it that way now, right? Because
a lot of uncertainty.
Right. So, I would like to see Lane come back. I think he's kind of the glue of that offensive line. I think his presence alone really gives the other players on that line confidence. and I think he will. Jordan Mailata said after, or on cleanout day Monday, that he thinks Lane will come back. And, you would assume that he's probably talked to Lane about it. But you don't know. I mean, it's a long off season. Maybe Lane gets into February and March and he's like, I just don't feel like my foot doesn't feel right still. And 36 years old. And, maybe it's just time.
And to your point, he's been inconsistent on it. He's kind of gone back and forth.
That
way.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's like, I'm old. I'm like, some days I'm like, I want to retire. And then some days they're like, I want to keep going.
I get it. Ed, just keep it on the O-line, man. What does the fix for that look like? I mean, you look at that offensive line. Obviously, they weren't what we're used to here in Philadelphia, but I mean, you got a pretty young center making $18 million who just was a shell of himself this year.
Yeah.
You got a $21 million left guard who, I mean, though you listen to him at the end of the season, he doesn't even have much confidence he's going to get back fully healthy. Your right tackle, we just talked about him, could be on his way to retirement, or if he's not, he is 36 years old and missed half the year this year. What do you think the plan is to try and get that O-line back healthy out or better outside of hope?
Yeah, you just have to go through the off season and get whatever surgeries you need or to rehab any way possible to get stronger physically to kind of prevent what might happen. It's hard to prevent any kind of injury, really. But you're right. That's the only strategy is hope at this point, I guess, because you're kind of locked in.
Replace them, right? I mean, you can't replace them.
No, I mean, these contracts are big contracts, and I'm starting to wonder. I'm not so much worried about Dickerson. Cam Jurgens, I'm worried about.
Really, see, I'm the opposite. Just from listening to Landon after the game.
Yeah,
I mean, he was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be back. Like that was alarming to me. Landon's comments. I think Cam's going to get better.
I'm with you, Ed. I'm concerned about Cam. I
think, and you talk about Landon in the heat of the moment right after the game, he's going to say those things. Check back with him in May during OTAs.
Well, I don't mean he's going to walk away, but he seemed really concerned that, because with Landon, it's everything. It's like, it's a knee. I mean, he said, I can't even count how many surgeries he had on his knee, but I'm just talking about the injuries on both knees, the injuries this year, knee, ankle, back. There was another one. I can't even keep them all straight. It's everything. With Cam, it's back surgery. Back surgery is always tricky.
Yeah.
But I think he was getting healthier as the season went on. And I think another year away from it, I think he's young enough that he'll be fine. I'm talking just from a health standpoint, not talking about from a playing standpoint, but just from a health standpoint.
Maybe. I mean, I watched Cam. He doesn't move like he's a guy. He moves like a guy with a sore back, to me, in my opinion. When you see him in the locker room, he's very stiff. He's very rigid. He doesn't seem to bend over very easily. I mean, he looks like a guy with a back problem. And I don't know if that's going to get better. You hope it does. I mean, backs are a weird thing. And to me, it was surprising to see the Eagles give him that much money coming out of back surgery. I thought that to me was a really big surprise in the offseason. I thought they would wait and see how the back responded. And now you have Drew Kendall sitting there who, by all accounts, played, pretty well or against the Commanders in that season finale.
Brett Toth, although he's a free agent, but Brett Toth played well this year.
Yeah, he did. But, Drew Kendall's a guy that played center at Boston College forever. His father's an former NFL, stud on the offensive line. What's the plan for him? Is he going to just be a guard? But to me, he's a guy that could challenge to start at center if Cam's back doesn't get better. And I'm worried about it, to be honest. I'm not sure it will. Back injuries are tough, man. Like I said, and
I'm with you.
You don't know how in the long term they're going to affect him. And Cam, I'm sure did all the right things to play and get ready, but he just even at the end of the year, maybe he was getting a little healthy, but it still wasn't good enough.
Well, the other Cam, just one quick Stoutland tie in a bow. First of all, if they do move on from Stoutland, I do not envy the guy who replaces him, whoever they bring in, because I don't think that's going to go well. number one. Number two, these guys do have these day 3 picks they had, Ed. They do have upside. You mentioned Drew Kendall. I was impressed by the way Cam Williams played in Week 18. I know it's meaningless, but I thought it was going to be a bad situation, and he actually held up pretty well. And then Miles Hinton. But all 3 of them, and this happens with all young offensive linemen, it seems, coming into this league. They almost need a year in an NFL weight room to get stronger to play in this league. And I think all 3 of those guys might have upside. And I trust Jeff Stoutland to get it. I don't know if I trust some rando coming in here because Mike McDaniel likes him.
Yeah, I'm not really well-versed in good O-line coaches that are out there, so I would have no idea. You're right, though. If the person comes in, he's got big shoes to fill, and then you're walking that line between the veteran guys like Dickerson and Mulata and Cam versus the younger guys, Hinton, Williams, Lampkin, Kendall.
And Willie, don't forget Willie Lampkin. Yeah,
I did say Lampkin.
Willie.
I'm saying you did. I know you love Willie.
Yeah, big way.
I should have said it.
State champion wrestler in Florida, man, 47-0. Showed me his video of winning the state championship.
Yeah, I was there. I saw
that 47-0.
Yeah.
Beast.
Yeah, he was very beastly. I would not want to wrestle that guy. I wouldn't want to block him either, for that matter. But I talked to Cameron Williams on Monday for a little while, and I asked him, I said, do you think you would have been a higher pick coming out this year rather than last year? And he said, yeah, I would have been a first round pick, second round pick if I'd have stayed in, but I wanted to get my NFL career going. I wanted to learn at the highest level. And he said that he just came out of the exit interview with Stoutland, and Stoutland really gave him a lot of praise for how he approached this season and how he did what they asked, which one of the things was he came in at 340 pounds. They wanted him down to 320, 330. He got to 317, which is really light. And as I'm talking to Cameron Williams, Fred Johnson walks by, and we know how huge Fred Johnson is. He's a human eclipse, that guy. But I'm watching. He walks past Cameron, and he's 3 inches taller than Cameron Williams. So you could probably put 2 Cameron Williams side by side to equal the width of Fred Johnson. And I'm like, dude, man, 317 might not be the right weight for you. I think you need to get bigger. And as I'm thinking that, he says, I need to get in the weight room. And he goes, I'm really excited to get on this program that they have me on for weightlifting. He goes, I want to try to get up to like 325, 330 in the weight room by doing it by adding muscle. Yeah. He goes, so I leaned out.
Got to get stronger.
Yeah, he does. And he said, I need to get stronger. He said, but I'm leaned out now, and I'm ready to add that muscle and that weight. So, he could be one of those guys. John, you and me talked about it with Nakobe Dean. When you saw him as a rookie, he didn't look. Oh, my God, yeah. He looked small comparatively. He comes back that second year, and he looked like a little oak tree. So, it's the same with Cameron Williams. You hope that, this weight program kicks in for him, and he gets to, add muscle. He gets stronger. And, maybe he's your backup or whatever. Maybe he's the guy at right tackle. I don't know. He is a little on the shorter side, I thought, especially seeing him next to Fred.
Yeah, you can't use Fred as a gauge.
I know. Yeah, you're right. Fred's just a large individual. But, maybe Cameron's going to be that guy. I don't know. I mean, it's a big – we all talk about these rookies. It's a big step that they have to take to get into their second year because you're in
when I talk – who I think of? You bring up Nakobe. That's a good one. Because what happened when Nakobe hurt his foot when he had his Liz Frank injury? He couldn't work out, obviously, his lower body for a long time. So he just did upper body, and he came back like a little brick, what.
Yeah.
But TJ Edwards, remember TJ as a rookie? Yeah. And the day he left?
Yeah. Big difference. Right.
Oh,
TJ is a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't, Nakobe, listen, to me, that's going to be a sad story when he leaves. I hope that the Eagles can find a way, but I just know
he's awesome.
He's just a great
they
leader.
Went Belichick and they traded Bond and got cheaper, but they're not going to do that.
No, Zach's a good player.
Zach's a good player, and
I know he is. But I'm saying you got all these guys on defense. That's Belichick-esque to get a guy before he starts going on the other side of his prime. By the way, on the offensive line, I think it's time this team starts to use some premium picks. I mean, you look across the last couple of years, and I know they're mostly good at that spot, or at least have been. You got Miles Hinton, you got Cam Williams, you got Drew Kendall, you got Trevor Keegan, you got Dylan McMahon. I mean, all these darts that they're throwing late in the rounds right now have just not worked out, or at least
Hey, they've been trying. They've been trying to draft an off. They're always.
Yeah, no, I know they're always doing it. So, but I think they're going to actually pull the trigger and make it happen this year. We'll see.
Well,
Ed, I got to ask you about.
Let me just say this, Zander, about Mekhi Becton. There's a possibility that the Chargers are going to cut him. Would you bring him back?
I wouldn't.
Behind him, man, I don't know.
Too many injury issues. Certainly. Well, number one, I would consider it more if Stoutland's back. So number one, you have to see if Stoutland's going to be back. If he's not, I think you have to go the youth route. But he's got a significant injury history, and that to me, their whole. It seems like, and we don't know, but it seems like their whole plan is to get away from this offense and evolve this offense. I would want Mekhi Becton, if you want to go back to 2024 and just run the ball down people's throats. That's where I would want Mekhi Becton. I don't think they want to go that direction anymore.
Yeah, good points for sure.
Yeah.
Ed, what do you think they're going to do, man? Defense, they got all these contracts coming up. I think, man, I'm guilty of this. We have a propensity to because the Eagles normally do contracts so early. So I'm looking like Jalen Carter, Cooper and Quinn, all these guys. They might wait on some of these, but the one that's up is Jalen Phillips. They sent the 3rd-round pick for him, this year. Obviously was a good player. Wasn't a huge statistical season, but, he is kind of a crux player. What do you think they're going to do with Jalen Phillips? Would you pay Jalen Phillips if you were the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, I would. And he's got an injury history too. So, that could be a concern when it comes to the bargaining table. But I just think he made this defense better. I mean, you're right. He wasn't a big stats guy. I mean, he only had, 2 sacks, I think. But, I think he opened opportunities for Jalen Hunt on the other side, Moro Ajomo up front. Jalen Carter had a handful of sacks, even though he missed some time. But, yeah, I would bring back Jalen Phillips. And I'll tell you, and John knows this, I would probably look to trade Nolan Smith maybe. I know you still have him under control. He's a young guy. 2 years potentially on his contract. They have until early May to pick up that 5th-year option on him and Jalen Carter. I think they'll do both. But I think if you want to get something for a player, Nolan Smith would be a guy to trade because he's young and because he has 2 years potentially left on his contract. So I might be moving on from him. Not that he's making a ton of money, but I just think that it might be time to get something for him, something good, and bring back Phillips.
I agree.
Yeah, Phillips is, I think Phillips is, you got to have a walkaway number. Like if somebody wants to pay him, I don't know, $28 million, I can't go that high. But if it's realistic, I think you got to bring him back. The guy's a perfect fit. Vic loves him, fit in with the team. Good dude, good culture guy.
Yeah. Teammates love him. They accepted him right away.
28 doesn't even sound that high for edge rushers nowadays, Now, I know Josh Sweat got 18. I don't know. I mean, is 22 to 25 the number?
Yeah, I think as long as you're in the early 20s,
I
think you're fine. But I do think if you get to 25 or so, you have to start thinking about, sometimes you get overpaid and, he might just want to come back. I mean, look, his 2 best stretches of football came with Vic Fangio. So he's clearly he clearly fits in this particular defensive scheme. He was a good player without Vic, but he wasn't as good with Vic. So I think that factors into it as well. I think he'll want to be back. The most on defense, Ed, the most difficult one for me, because I don't think he had a good year, is Reed Blankenship. But Vic loves him. Talks about his ability to be the traffic cop, the leader, the guy who gets everybody lined up correctly. Always speaks highly of him, but he's got some limitations. Do you bring Reed Blankenship back?
Yeah, I thought I thought they would have signed him before the season, to be honest.
So did I.
I think a lot of us thought that is, where's that contract? Is it coming before the season starts? Is it coming in the summer? And then it never came. And here we are in January, and he's looking at walking out the door. Would I bring him back? Well, you look at the position. What do you have? You have Makuba, who's going to be coming off that. What was it, a tibia or fibula? He told us
fibula.
Fibula. I mean, he was still in a walking boot on Monday when we saw him, but he's one of the guys that they're going to start next year, assuming the rehab goes well, which it should. And then who do you have? Do you keep Michael Carter? What's Michael Carter's contract? I'm not sure.
One more year. I think he has one more year.
I mean, maybe he's your safety, although he's more of a slot corner type. But you have him. You have Sidney Brown, who clearly they're not high on even the slightest. Marcus Epps, who is a free agent.
Brandon Johnson, they were high on until he got hurt.
He's a guy too that needs to get a little stronger. But and it was a concussion, I think, for Brandon Johnson. So he should be okay for the offseason weight program. But you look at the position and, Reed gives you obviously the veteran presence back there, and he gives you a serviceable guy. I think it's going to – I would bring him back. But again, like you said, John, these walk-away numbers they have to set for these guys. And, what's your walk-away number with Blankenship? And is another team going to pay him more than what your walkaway number is? What do you think a walkaway number? $9 million a year, something like that?
Yeah, I think it's under
million.
10 now because of the year he had. So
Yeah.
from that perspective, and somebody might want to pay him more than that.
Yeah, safeties are hard to find. There's no doubt.
He might be the Isaiah Rodgers of this season, where the Eagles think he's coming back, but then somebody offers him
right
a little bit more and he walks.
Yeah, and his future might look like Marcus Epps. He plays there for a couple years, and then he might end up back at the back of the Eagles roster.
That's true too.
Yeah, I would try to bring him back though at a
and by the way, make Cooper happy because Cooper loves him.
Oh bullshit! Yeah. I can't placate to anybody's feelings or friendships or podcasts. We got a
exciting mics.
The New York Giants just hired John Harbaugh. They're going to get better. The Commanders are going to have Jaden back. The Cowboys are going to get better. Eagles can't rest on their laurels here. Last one for me. Who should the Eagles hire as their next offensive coordinator?
Ed Kracz.
You don't want to hire me. I have no ideas. I have no scheme, no concepts.
I don't like the concepts, Ed. I scream about Ed.
Yeah,
I don't like the concepts of Ed Kracz.
And I don't want people throwing eggs at my house, when this offense tanks. But who do I want? I mean, I just, Brian Daboll from afar looks like a lunatic.
I'm with you.
I think he was feeling some pressure to keep his job when he's going in the blue medical tent to try to twist the doctor's arm to clear Jackson Dart. Got fined like $250,000. Yeah. But that might have just been him feeling some heat. But to me, from afar, I don't know the guy. Nick's glows about him. He introduced Hurts to Sirianni back in 2020 and this and that, but I don't know if I'd bring him.
I love the fit. I love the Daboll fit.
Yeah. You like the Daboll fit, and it could be Daboll.
I'm with you, man. I look there and I'm like, I'm good on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think they need somebody who's called plays before, like this Nathan Shieldhouse guy that is getting coaching.
He's got no experience.
Exactly. That's the downside to him, but he's a young guy. He's coached under McVay. He might be the next McVay. Do you take a chance on him? Listen, if this was another year, another situation, I would. But I think the Eagles need to find a proven guy. Mike McDaniel would be an interesting fit. I know, talking to some people that cover the Dolphins when Fangio was there, they did not really communicate much. They did their own thing. Vic was in charge of the defense, but McDaniel never went to bat for Fangio to save his job, or when the players started ripping him. McDaniel never said anything.
In Mike's defense, I'm going to give him a defense. Vic doesn't communicate with anybody.
Well, maybe. I mean, he communicates with us pretty well.
He likes us.
Yeah, but McDaniel's just kind of this oddball type guy too. He's vaping on the sidelines. He's wearing
too
his
oddball for Philadelphia. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry, he is. He's too oddball.
Yeah, but
can you hate him? They're going to eat him alive.
Guys, he fits perfectly. Nick Sirianni's an oddball. Jalen Hurts is an oddball. This whole team is they're all oddballs.
Nick's a typical. They're all oddballs. Nick's a typical. 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 Nick's a typical oddball jock.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel's like a weirdo.
Yeah, he's a bizarre dude, man. There's no doubt. He wears sweatpants, and Vic Fangio wears sweatpants too. So listen, I wear sweatpants, whatever. But I just think
if you can, you might as well.
Yeah, right.
You're in a training for that. You just put on your sweatpants.
Yeah, that whole vaping on the sidelines thing was kind of
that was interesting.
cringy.
I'm happy you saw that. I don't know, it kind of flew under the radar in some areas.
I saw it. It was weird. Who I would hire is I would try to hire Kevin Stefanski. Him and Nick have a good relationship. The Browns and Eagles had joint practices, I think, 3 years together. They have a good relationship. He's a Philly guy. Do you want a guy that
back to be the GM of the Sixers, though?
The Sixers doing okay with this season, but whatever. I don't really follow the Sixers that closely, but I would go for Kevin Stefanski. That's who I would hire. 2-time head coach of the year. I think he brings a good offense to the mix, and I like the fit. He's a stand-up guy. He's a good guy. I think he would come in here and do a good job. Who do you guys want? John wants Dayball. Okay. Okay.
I want Dayball.
I thought Monken was interesting name.
Yeah, Monken's interesting.
Out of New York. I mean, my question, Ed, is I have 3 crux questions I need to answer before I can even figure this out. One is, does the next OC bring his offense, or is he extending Sirianni's? Second is, what are the variables of Jalen Hurts' legs? Am I coaching for a dual threat, or am I not? And the third is the risk-averse offense going anywhere? Because you can change the scheme and still keep a risk-averse approach. If the answer to that is they're keeping the Nick offense or the dual threat, Greg Roman might make some sense. Cliff Kingsbury, maybe.
Yeah, Roman's a South Jersey guy, I think, isn't he? I think
he's Atlantic City.
He's been around
already, though. I mean, he's a pretty boring offense. They say the same stuff in L.A. right now. Oh, there's no cons, there's no pass.
Yeah, he's my number 2, Greg Roman, because he would fit in for what they do right now. He would fit in better. Greg Roman.
Kellen Moore came from the Chargers, didn't he? Didn't he spend a year with the Chargers and then came here and won a Super Bowl? So, maybe that's the path. I don't know. But yeah, I think that dual threat thing is something they'd have to figure out when the new guy got here. Is like, okay, talk to Jalen. Why didn't you run as much? What was going on? Was that because they weren't asking you to do as much with your legs, or because you don't want to do as much?
Well, that's how Jalen framed it. If you remember when he got asked, he's like,
Jalen contradicts.
And I think that was a BS answer. Yeah, me too. I think that was.
He often contradicts himself in the same sentence, so you can't really. As I always say, none of these guys are under oath, and yet people take one clip and say, "Oh, he said this at this point." Man, he might have said something else 2 seconds later.
Yeah, right. And Kingsbury, I mean, John has told me this, that when the Eagles were flirting with him before they hired Kellen Moore, was he wanted to have too many staff changes, right? John, he wanted to come in and kind of bring his own guys in. So if they hire him, it could be bye-bye Stoutland, see you later, Amo, Aaron Moorhead, and maybe even Jamal Singleton's not safe if they bring in Kingsbury. I don't
think any of them are safe if they bring it. If that is one of the things they have to do to get one of these coordinators, and that's why I like Dayball. Dayball will just fit in.
Better put him up in the booth, Dayball. Just sit with Fangio up there, Dayball. I don't know if we need 2 knuckleheads on the sideline. All right, Ed, we appreciate you joining in, man. Any final thought here on the Eagles offseason as it kicks off? Feels like this team's at an interesting point, Ed. They've had a very good run. Will it continue? That window might be closing. Maybe it's not. Your final thought here, Ed, on the Eagles offseason before we let you run.
Yeah, well, just, in addition to the OC, the new OC, I think you're going to see, some new pieces on offense with, like we talked about earlier, A.J. Brown might not be here. Dallas Goedert probably won't be here. They won't have any tight ends because Grant Calcaterra is not going to be here. So, you can add it to a list of offseason shopping things is that tight end spot. Are they going to draft one? Are they going to try to sign? Are they going to go out and get Kyle Pitts from Atlanta? I don't know if I think he's a free agent, but
he's going to be expensive.
Nothing's cheap, John. Nothing's cheap. But I think that's in addition to the new OC, we're going to see, I think, a new offense, and that might lead to more of a transition. We all know the Eagles had the highest paid offense in the league this year. I think we'll start to see maybe a slow transition to the defense now getting paid more, as it should. This defense is phenomenal. It's young. There's guys coming up for contracts. So I think it's going to be a natural transition to start paying guys more on defense than offense.
By the way, how worried? We got to let you go. Ed Kracz, make sure you follow Ed on the X platform, si.com/NFL/Eagles. Read his stuff there. Might be some news coming today. We can't talk about it yet, but stay tuned.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Carter, I forgot to ask you, how worried about you? He didn't play well again in that playoff game. This shoulder thing.
He's going to need surgery. There's no way around it. I mean, if he wants to get back to being the player that we all know he is, he's got to have surgery. I don't know what the shoulder problem is. Can you operate on it? I mean, I don't know if it's a rotator cuff or he had those injections.
And it's both of them.
Right. So, that's something that maybe we'll find out here soon. If Jalen's going to need off-season surgery, maybe we'll find that information out sometime soon, hopefully. But that is troubling. I mean, Carter's a guy, like we started the show. Do you give him a contract this year? Probably not. I mean, I wouldn't.
I would kick the can down the road at this point.
If you would ask me that about Cam, I don't think anybody was talking about Cam Jurgens getting an extension last year, and it kind of came from out of the blue. It was just, wow, they're going to give him all that money. He just got off the operating table with a back injury, with back surgery. So
maybe they learned from that.
Maybe. But anyway, that Humpty Dumplings ad that I see there, listen, I know they're a sponsor. I love Humpty's Dumplings.
They're
nice.
They're
phenomenal. They're phenomenal. Yeah. I got 2 bags sitting in my freezer, man. I break them out every now and then for a little appetizer. Yeah.
I'm not, Chad, I'm not good in the kitchen. So when I walk out of here, I load up the freezer, the air fryer, I'm making my.
They're easy. They're easy, right? Yeah, anybody can do it.
You got to get their sauce too. Their sauce is amazing.
Yeah. It's I'm a big Humpty's Dumplings fan. Glad they're a sponsor.
Ed, appreciate you doing it today,
all right,
man.
guys. Yeah, man.
With you.
You got it.
Thanks,
bud. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, see you guys.
Thanks, Ed. There's Ed Kracz joining us right here on Birds 365. Good stuff from Ed Kracz. John, going to be an interesting offseason, my man. It's going to be a very interesting offseason looking at all of the questions that we have here about this team. And I said it yesterday, Howie's got to push because the New York Giants they got better. They got better with John Harbaugh. Looks like it's a 5-year, $100 million deal.
5-year, $100 million. $20 million a year for a head coach.
That's what we're getting, right?
Floor raiser.
Yeah.
What I call
that's where we're reaching with some of these deals. I mean, Ben Johnson got like 16 or 17 last year, didn't he?
Yeah. He's unproven. At least John's proven.
Yeah.
Over a long, sustained period of time. But hey, who loves John Harbaugh? The Philadelphia Eagles. They love him. Might have been the head coach here if timing had worked out. But,
I wonder if Jeffrey Lurie's woke up to see that news and was I don't know, feeling pressure.
I don't know if he feels pressure, but I do think they understand that the Giants aren't going to be a laughing stock moving forward.
They're not. Well, Joe Shane or whatever the heck you said his name was.
Joe Shane.
Shane, baby.
Like Tyler Shuck.
Yeah. Tyler Shuck. That's going to be a tough one for people they're going to see that and say, what the hell? How do you pronounce this thing? But all right, John, it's getting interesting already, man. And obviously we had some good conversation with Ed about some of the other things that are going to come in the offseason as well. But to me, it's Ed said something about Jalen when I asked him about the legs, and I think Ed brought up a good point of is it more about that Jalen doesn't want to run anymore, or is he just simply not quite as good at it anymore? He said he looks slower to him. I think I agree with Ed. I don't want to say that because I feel like when Jalen turns it on, he can still, be quick. Do you think he's lost that step a little bit, John? Jalen Hurts with the running game?
Well, I think it's fair to say from, when he was young, when he was, his 2021, his first year as a starter, I think it's fair to say.
He destroyed teams with his legs in 22.
Yeah. So from those early days, I think it's very fair to say that he's not at that level. I think that's just the natural, wear and tear of playing in the NFL. It's a young man's game. We talk about it all the time. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you're getting back to that, to be perfectly honest. But is he still effective at it? Yes, I think he can still be effective at it. And he is, we can tell he's more cautious. And, I mean, that's the natural evolution. You saw the same thing with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. People are saying the same thing. It's like, why isn't he running? Well, guys are trying to conserve themselves so they can make $50 million for a longer shelf life.
Yeah, exactly right. Not hard to explain, right?
Yeah. So I don't think it's ever getting back to the 21, 22 level from a running perspective, but I still think it could be effective. And I thought it was going to be effective in the playoffs, but you never got an opportunity to see it because they laid an egg in round one.
Laid a freaking egg.
But, if you think about it, so 784 rushing yards in 2021, 760 in 2022. 23, you're down into the 600s. 24, you're in the 600s. This year, you're down to the 400s. I say your goal has got to be get back to 600. I mean, to me, that's got to be the baseline.
Yeah.
And again, these are all nebulous numbers, but you need the threat. You need the threat. And then the tush push, which we don't talk about, thankfully, much, and I don't want to talk about it. He doesn't like it either. Nobody likes this damn thing. And it doesn't work anymore. So, and by the end of the season, they did move away from it. For the most part, they had one conversion. If it's third and really short or fourth and really short, I think you're fine with it as long as you don't jump off sides and that kind of stuff. And because they're not doing it as much, maybe teams will loosen up and there'll be less reason and it'll get more effective. But he didn't like running it either. Maybe that's impactful.
Yeah.
Getting the shit kicked out of him there all the time.
It seems like it's run its course, which I think is a good thing. I mean, you don't need to ban it. Well, then maybe they will this summer.
I don't think they even have to now.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's run its course because teams know that this is gonna kill your offensive line, man. You can't do this all the time.
Yeah. So I think that's part of it, but it's got to be better. But I don't think you're ever getting back to 21 and 22. That's just the natural.
Yeah. I think the question there is like how much is are they trying to build the run game into the offense, into the new offense, if there is a new offense, with the quarterback?
Well, yeah. I mean, we have so much uncertainty. For the first time, we don't even know the assistants. Are they going to be back? Are they not going to be back? Is Kevin Patullo going to be back? How much autonomy does Nick Sirianni have? All these questions are all we have now are leaks coming from agents. That's all we have.
Yeah. All right. I got some interesting numbers here for you guys, and John, for you as well, for everybody listening. Now, if Mike McDaniel is ultimately named the Eagles' new offensive coordinator, I want you to clip this. I want you to remember this, and I want you to stare at it every day next year when the Eagles are running their offense so you don't forget. All right, this is courtesy of Jeff Kerr, John. Motion rate under Mike McDaniel, 22, first in the NFL. 2023, first in the NFL. 2024, second in the NFL. 2025, third in the NFL. Total 73.1%, first in the NFL in the last 4 years. Eagles, 22, 32nd in the NFL. 23, 32nd in the NFL. 2024, 21st in the NFL. 2025, 29th in the NFL. And total 36.8%, 31st in the NFL in the last 4 years. As you can see, these are stark contrasting numbers, John. So if Mike McDaniel comes in here and they stop running motion, I don't want to hear anybody tell me that Mike McDaniel is no longer creative or doesn't, you'll know your answer.
Well, first of all, the idea that motion equals creativity is complete bullshit.
I agree, but you know what people will say.
I
They
know,
turn a blind eye to why
because
things are run here, John. That's my point.
no, I, and you understand in 2024, while it was a high point for the Eagles, the 21st in the NFL, it's a low point for Kellen Moore, who ran a ton of motion. And I even remember I was the one who asked him the question at his inaugural press conference about his history with motion. And he gave maybe the best answer of the whole season. And he talked about his growth as a player, as a coach, even back to his days, with his family. And it's always been a big part of what he believes in offensively. And ultimately, again, for the Eagles over the Nick Sirianni, it was a high point, but it was still bottom. It was still 21st in the league, almost bottom 10.
Yeah.
That's not Kellen Moore. Now, and the only difference, by the way, because they were 29th last year, but look at the percentage, 45.8%, 43.5%. Barely any difference.
But the league changed, clearly.
Yeah. Now, everybody points to 2022. Why can't they be like they were in 2022 when they were a powerful running team and a powerful passing team? That, the glory days, 32nd in the NFL in motion.
I know. I just want to illustrate it. So if they stop running motion, everybody knows it's not the coordinator. Just like because people deny what happened with Kellen Moore.
Oh, they deny everything. It. But I can't tell you what to do. But in my mind, I don't give a shit what the perception is. I'm going to tell you what the truth is. And motion rate can be very effective. It can also be meaningless. It does not equal creativity. And again, a lot of that has to do with the quarterback and what he's comfortable with. And that is not an insult. Phillip Rivers did not like motion. And he's one of the smartest quarterbacks who ever lived. And one of the reasons he didn't like motion is because he didn't need it. Now, how many people don't?
He's very smart, obviously.
Yeah.
Very, very, the best
one. And he could figure out coverages just with personnel formation.
Yeah, but how much do you think the change in the NFL maybe has shifted that? Like you heard that Kirk Cousins bite earlier this year where he's talking about how much defenses have changed. A lot of this is because of Vic Fangio, the way they disguise coverages today. Yeah. Like, is motion more effective for helping with that?
It really depends on the quarterback.
Yeah, it does.
Seriously, that's all it depends on, and what they like and what they're most comfortable with. Some, especially some younger quarterbacks, you need to use motion to make it clear to them whether it's man coverage or zone coverage. And again, that's where things get complicated, to Kirk's point, because the Vic Fangio style of defense has made that more difficult. Sometimes you're just trying to, for all the bullshit motion the Eagles do run, sometimes they come out in empty set and motion, pre-snap motion is Saquon Barkley coming from an empty set back to the backfield. All right. Is that creative? So the whole perception that motion is creative is bullshit. Some of it is.
I think it's a small advantage in a game that's won on the margins. That's how I view it. I don't think it's imperative. It depends on your quarterback, like you said.
There's a lot of ways to do things.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying it's the only way. Yeah, I agree.
And this is a pet peeve of Nick Sirianni, I know, because look, their most dominant years came with using very little motion.
Yeah,
nobody could stop it.
And a lot of the league is using a lot of motion nowadays. Doesn't mean they're right, but it is true.
A lot of bad offenses use a lot of motion.
Yeah. Just real quick, though, just looking back, on the 24, for those who whatever, if you want to know it, or if you push back on the narrative that Kellen Moore's offense was basically taken away after week 4. And at passing attempts, first 4 games last year, 34, 30, 38, and 30. Those are the 3 of the 4 highest numbers all year for them. After the 4 games after that, 25, 14, 20, and 24. So
by the way, I'll also push back. It wasn't taken away.
It wasn't taken away. It was evolved. They went back to what
he recognized that there was a better chance to win playing a different style. And by the way,
Kellen didn't recognize
yes,
it.
Kellen did.
I thought the offensive line had an intervention.
That's
intervention, folks. Why are we passing the football? I mean, does that not tell
the conversation happened, but that's complete bullshit. I mean, the coaching staff steered them in that direction.
Yeah.
Kellen was on board with it. That because he understood what they were trying to do and try to accomplish wasn't working. That's the irony to me about this whole situation with Nick Sirianni. Like, you got a guy who's going to try to win a football game on Sunday by hook or by crook to a point of weird competitiveness. Like, he will kick you in the groin to win a football game. Like, he will do anything to win a football game. And I think some people think that's a negative, which is weird to me.
But is it sacrifice? Does there need to be more of a sacrifice of short-term gain for long-term gain? If that makes sense.
I mean, I don't know how much. Obviously, I mean, he's been here for 5 years. You could have 5 Super Bowl championships.
Well, you also referenced that you thought it was unfair how quickly they abandoned what they were trying to do.
Well, I think it's unfair individually to the quarterback and his development. But again, it's about more than being fair.
Well, it's about what you just said. Nick Sirianni wants to win a game.
Yes.
He felt that was the best way.
Exactly.
And he was right, by the way.
Yeah.
He was completely right.
Yeah. Now, you're not going to win every year. But again, I challenge anybody to give me a 5-year span in Eagles history that doesn't go back to the 40s, where they've had this much success. So, it's difficult to look at that mindset and say it's a detriment. And ultimately, if they hire the right guy, whoever it is, and I don't know that much about Mike McDaniel. I don't think my guess is he's gotten to the level he's gotten to because he's willing to adapt to the players around him. So this perception that he won't move off what he ran in Miami is probably incorrect. But if you're trying to, and maybe just the answer is they want a different style of offense and they're going to change by hook or by crook. But if that's the goal, you're going to have to move on from the quarterback and probably the head coach.
We'll see what they end up doing. We got a couple super chats we'll read right now. We got Kaden Steel coming up in a couple minutes here on Birds 365. Let's go to Alexander Harris. What's up, brother? Thank you for the super chat. $20. Appreciate that. He says, don't you feel this is Nick's fault? He was hired to be the offensive guy, and now we are in a position that every year we're looking for an offensive coordinator. Do you feel the best way to move forward would be with a new head coach that can call plays?
No, again, there's a lot of ways you can do things. I think,
I point back to the success you just said, John.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's hired a play calling head coach from the start. I don't know. I don't know that to be true.
It's a much bigger job than just play calling, which I think should recognize. Look, a CEO coach just got $20 million a year to coach the New York Giants. I mean, the idea that you can't, again, there's different ways of being successful. The problem is, continuity and all that kind of stuff. Yes, if you have a play caller at head coach, you have continuity because he's not going to leave if he's successful. But then again, look at the guys who are successful that call plays that everybody loves, the Shanahans, the McVays, almost to a man, Mike McDaniel in Miami.
Yeah.
Almost to a man, they have game management issues because they're so bogged down in the game. Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to look back and say, "Hey, I wish we had continuity." But at the end of the day, would you trade your 2 NFC championships and your 1 Super Bowl championship for continuity? I don't know, because I don't think it's as simple as just swapping it out. Let's go to A. Martin. He says, "Wasn't Harbaugh successful in Baltimore as a CEO with autonomous OCs and DCs in 2019?"
Well, no, again,
because curious why I can't work here with Nick.
It can work, but you have to have veto power.
Yeah, right.
There's no you already had that.
You already know who the leader is.
Nick is the CEO coach right now.
Right.
Kevin Patullo ran the offensive meetings. Kellen Moore ran the offensive meetings. But my only problem is if these reports are true, and I don't think they are true, because they said the same thing about Kellen, and it was untrue. It was proven to be untrue. If he can't be given veto power, he's not the head coach of the football team. And if that's the case, which is fine, if you want to make that decision, Jeffrey Lurie can do whatever he wants to do. It's his team, but then show the courage of your convictions. What you can't do is straddle the fence.
Well, that's what they're doing, John. It's a political game. You say that you say that about Nick.
Well, they didn't do it last time. That was bullshit. And he did have veto power. And as long as he has veto power, it can work. But that's the key. And right now, I can't tell you. A, they haven't hired the guy. Yeah. But all I can go on is leaks from agents. And Josina, who's very good, tweeted what she tweeted yesterday, which was guys are asking about autonomy and about if they're going to be left alone and not interfered with was the description. Well, guess what? If you're not the head coach, you're going to be interfered with.
Right. One more here, and then we'll get to Kaden Steel. Peter Riley, Zander, and J-Mac, keep up the good work. Thank you, brother. And then Go Bird says, earlier John said that Nick doesn't want to run this shit, parentheses, style of offense. So why is everyone afraid to say the quarterback is the problem? Well, it depends how you look at it. I mean, I don't know.
When I don't recall me saying Nick doesn't want to run this shit. I saying in the efforts, the guy's trying to win games. He has run different offenses in Indianapolis when he had Andrew Luck and Phillip Rivers. And if he had a different quarterback, he'd run a different offense. If he had Tanner McKee, he'd run a different offense. If he was starting, you would see the shift.
I mean, I think people look
at
it.
It is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean,
they think it's an insult. It's not.
Coaches have their offense, and that's their identity, and everything has to fit that, or else. Nick's was more malleable, which I think is, in a way, good.
Yeah, I tell the Larry Karras story all the time, which you're not allowed to say Larry Karras. I got to put $1 in the swear jar because Nick will talk for an hour and a half. But his first meeting when he was getting the job, I tell that story. And Larry Karras asked him a question. Okay, what offense do you want to run? And he started to answer, and Larry stopped him and said, you don't even know who your players are. And that has stuck with him. You build the offense around the players you have. Not the opposite.
Good stuff there. We got Kaden Steel in the green room. Let's bring him on right now here on Birds 365. He joins us. You can read all his work at nj.com. Kaden, welcome in, brother. How you doing on this Thursday morning as we begin the Eagles offseason this week?
Yeah, doing well, guys. Excited to cover this offensive coordinator search. It's going to be an I am. I'm excited to see what they're.
I like it, Kaden. I'm happy. I take it in stride.
You can tell Caden's young.
Yeah,
I've been through too many of these things.
I'm excited for the names that are out there.
Me too.
Who's your favorite then? Who's your favorite?
I don't know if I have like an invested interest in really caring.
Well,
who
I'm not invested. I know you don't care from them. But who do you think would be the best fit for the Eagles of the names floated out there? Todd Monken, by the way, off the board as projected. He's going with John Harbaugh, sticking with him.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I think the two that I feel like are the most natural fits would one be Brian Dable. Again, we don't know exactly what the relationship between him and Jalen is. I mean, only Jalen and him know.
Yeah, they seem to have gotten along though.
Yeah, Yeah, just at least in the public interactions after games, you've seen him and the respect that Daboll's talked about him when he's played before he played the Eagles. And I mean, going back, I was reading some stuff, even when Jalen's Alabama, he talked about, how much Daboll helped him. So that one would make some sense. I mean, Daboll obviously has a connection with Saquon as well. He's got a ton of coordinator experience.
With mobile quarterbacks, too. Dual threat quarterbacks.
And in offense, I don't think would be that much different. I think it would be a little bit different, but it wouldn't be as drastic as some of these other coaches potentially. And it's also the factor of, I know you got an interview with Tennessee, and I don't think they should go about this. I don't think that they should worry about, having a guy for 4 years. They should hire whoever is the best candidate. But I mean, Daboll's a guy that was known for annihilating or alienating his assistants and not being a great head coach. I wonder if teams are a little worried about him for a couple of years before
running into the blue tent to try to get Jackson Dart out of it.
So he might not be a guy that gets a head coaching job for a couple of years as well, which, maybe you could get some continuity with Brian Daboll. I mean, he's helped quarterback development. Even in 2022, Daniel Jones was pretty good. I know it ended up falling apart, but he wasn't a good head coach, but I mean, he could be a good coordinator again. And again, his personnel wasn't very good. The offensive line in New York was terrible outside of Andrew Thomas. Other than last year and when he coached this year, he didn't really have any wide receivers. And Malik Neighbors got hurt this year after week 2. So I think Brian Daboll would be one. I think Cliff Kingsbury makes some sense because I think, everyone wants to argue whether Jalen's comfortable under center or not. Well, I mean, he's proven that he can do it sometimes, but obviously he's run more shotgun and pistol. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury would do that at a high rate and would spread things out. You would run a bunch of empty. I mean, we saw Jalen against the Commanders, just pick apart the Commanders.
He was great with empty. Jalen's great with empty. I turn him into a run and shoot quarterback. Can we get Bum Phillips, Jerry Glanville? Why am I saying Bum Phillips? Jerry Glanville back. Yeah.
So I think Kingsbury would be a good fit. I think McDaniel's the interesting one. I think that's where everyone. I think if I could be wrong, but among the fans, I feel like McDaniel's number one.
He seems to be.
I see the side. I see it. Why? I mean, there's elements. I would love to watch Mike McDaniel, the run game. He does a lot of fun stuff, and if you want to fix the run game from a scheme perspective and become more diverse and be more creative and guys talked about this year, or at least Lane Johnson said at one point that it was predictable, and they never got the run game really going. It felt like you could see it from a mile away, and I know that they've had success in the past.
Do they have the personnel to do that though, Kaden? I mean, that's they use the passing game as the extension of the run game in those West Coast offenses. I mean, you need sweeps and flats and slants.
Yeah, they have Devin Achane.
Yeah,
I mean, who's running Devin Achane stuff?
Saquon Barkley can't catch a ball in the flat to save his life. I mean, I don't know if they have the personnel to run those things.
Who's running jet sweeps on this team, Kaden?
Yeah, you're probably right. So in theory,
now you can get that player, you can get that style of player, you can draft that style of player, but you don't have it right now.
Yeah, no, you don't. And I think McDaniel's a good coordinator. I do question the fit though. When it comes to Jalen and him specifically, I don't think you want to put a cap on what Jalen could do because obviously you want to see him progress. And if you think he's capable of growing in that offense, and then I think if you think Jalen can't handle a bunch of new things and can't develop in a certain way, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. So I think just because Jalen hasn't done a ton of under center, hasn't thrown the ball over the middle a ton, doesn't mean he can't do it. And if you love Mike McDaniel and you think he's the key to turning around this offense and his system's going to make you elite, and you're worried about the quarterback being the one that holds you back, then I think that's a different discussion. But I don't think he's the top choice, but I think he'd be fun. But I do think the fit's a little more difficult.
It's more drastic. But I think you're right. I think that's what's weird to me. It's to me, he would be, that's a good word. He'd be the funnest guy to watch. His offense would be more fun to watch. Is that the goal? For far too many people, I think that's the goal. And you're going into a situation where you got a quarterback who says the standard is the standard. Constantly, it's win, 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 no matter what. And all of a sudden, everybody's worried about what's the prettiest, what's the funnest. there's a disconnect there to me. Not that you can't have both. In a perfect world, maybe have both. But what's Mike's record as a head coach? About 500.
Yeah, a little over 5, but
I mean, okay. Like I feel we're on this hamster wheel. Of look, they've got this great standard, which they've had so much success, and there's these tremendous expectations every year, and everybody outside of this tremendous respect is considered better. Tremendous success is considered better, even though their resumes are not as good. It's weird. I need somebody to explain that to me.
Yeah. I don't know. I do think part of it is like people are wrapped up in how fun the offense would look. And it was fun in Miami. And I think the one thing that you can give him credit is he got the most out of Tua, who was a limited quarterback. And if you want to say Jalen is limited, he knew how to work with Tua. I think he adapted his offense to Tua. So I guess the only thing I said about McDaniel is like, he is a McVay guy, but could he adapt his system a little bit? I think he might be able to cater it towards Jalen, but there is a bigger learning curve overall with this offense because the run scheme is different. I mean, they run a bunch of, 21 personnel and 3 tight ends. You talk about a team that has 1 tight end under contract right now. They would have to build their personnel around Mike McDaniel. They would have to find a bunch of blocking tight ends. Like, it would take more work. They would have to relearn the offense. There would be new verbiage. The language would be different. They always say, guys say, NFL offenses are pretty much the same besides, everything.
Verbiage,
verbiage and stuff. But I feel like that would be a pretty big adjustment.
By the way, I don't think a lot of people know that, Mike was the run game coordinator for a long time in San Francisco, Mike McDaniel, before he took over as he was only the offensive coordinator for 1 year. He was the run game coordinator for like 4 years before that, under Kyle Shanahan. So he's very well adept in the run game. And to me, boy, that tells you that opens up another can of worms. And that can of worms is Jeff Stoutland. Are you ready to move on from Jeff Stoutland? Because I don't envy that guy coming in, the next offensive line coach, whoever that is. I do not envy him to live up to that reputation.
No. And I don't think they want to move on from Stoutland. So if McDaniel or even Kingsbury, I mean, I know that was the reporting in 2023 that Kingsbury wanted to. If that's part of the factor, it's going to be hard, to bring those guys in. That's why. All right, right now I've had a guess. I feel like Brian Dable's the favorite. Like he might not be the sexiest option between Kingsbury and McDaniel, and the offense might not be as drastic, but he has the relationship with Jalen, and he probably wouldn't get rid of Stoutland or probably wouldn't want that. Him and Nick have a relationship dating back to the Chiefs. I mean, Nick talked about how Brian Dable is a mentor towards them. Like, I think it would be fun to watch their personalities clash on the sideline. For me, just like seeing the amount of anger from both coaches. I mean, maybe Dable would be in the box, who knows? Like, but I think Brian Dable would be a good hire. I mean, and I think it would be a safe hire relatively because the adjustment wouldn't be as big, and he might be here for a couple of years. And there might be a motivation factor. I mean, maybe Brian Dable wants to stick it to the Giants twice a year, stick it to the NFC East. I mean, this is a coach that had a lot of success in his first year. You look at the Giants, they blamed him for all their issues, and they didn't blame Joe Shane. So I imagine he's a motivated Brian Dable. And I think Brian Dable would be a good hire. I like the other two as well. I like Cliff Kingsbury, but I think he comes with some things as well. It would be interesting. And John, I saw you talking about it before we came on, the report about the full autonomy. And I find that interesting. Obviously, I don't think that, like you said, that wasn't the case with Kellen, but I think these 3 candidates have a little more, I don't know, like a little more success or a little more gravitas about them before Kellen came in. Like, Kellen came on after kind of like a middling year.
A down year for him.
Yeah.
So but it depends the way you look at it. Like, he had 2 number 1 offenses, I think, in Dallas, Kellen Moore. I believe he had 2 number 1 offenses.
Yeah, I believe
so. I mean, I don't know. By the way, we can now speak about it. Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman will have their end of season press conference today at 2:00 this afternoon. So Cade and I will be down there for that, and hopefully we get some answers on some of these questions, but obviously they're not going to talk about things like autonomy and things like that. But it is interesting that came out, because it was very similar to the reporting that about originally with Kellen Moore that proved to be incorrect. So I shouldn't panic. You shouldn't panic if you're an Eagles fan. But I do think if that is the case, I think that's a bad way of doing business. You can't have a head coach, Caden, who doesn't have autonomy over the team. It's just, it doesn't work.
Yeah, at least when it comes to like, decisions and he can, fourth down and whatever. I think if it's like that, it's not good. If you let him completely run his offense, which I think he's like for the most part been hands off with Kellen and even Kevin Patullo.
He's hands off with Kevin. I think he's hands off with everybody. That's fine.
Yeah.
But he's got to have the ability to step in and say, no, this is what we're doing. That's what a head coach is.
Yeah. And if that's not the case, then I mean, what is Nick doing? I guess it goes back to that Tim McMahonish question a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that still pisses Nick off.
But it's 2 years later, and he's won a lot of games. I think Nick.
Well, guess what? He's going to get those questions again if this continues to be the perception. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good guy. And I think I heard Zander mention something. I mean, like Nick's won a lot of games. I think at some point, like it's kind of unfair to discredit him to like the level some people try to discredit him. I do think he is good at certain things. I think he is a good CEO head coach, but this is where it gets tricky when you have a guy that doesn't call plays and he hasn't.
Why is it not tricky for John Harbaugh?
I think people want something that we're not capable of doing here in Philadelphia. Nick has decided this is the offense to run. For whatever reason, he's decided it. I think most people can figure that out. And everybody wants it to look a whole lot different, but I don't necessarily know that Nick is wrong and that this is the Eagles, as they are currently constructed, it's the best way to win football games. It's not push the ball too much. It's protect the football, win the turnover battle consistently, run the ball effectively, play great defense, and win on the margins. I don't think they want to be, or maybe they want to be, I don't think they believe the best way to win is push the ball like some of these other teams. I mean, you look at some of these other teams, their whole identity is they got to score points. I mean, the team that just beat us, the 49ers, if they weren't playing the Eagles offense, most games they got to score 30-plus points to win because their defense stinks. So that's their offensive identity, push the ball. Same with the Rams, same with most of these other teams. We don't have that. We don't have that offense here in Philadelphia. I don't know that Nick is wrong.
And if that's the case, and then the guy I'd be wanting to hire is the guy that can fix the run game. Because if they're going to play a conservative style, they're not going to push the ball. You want to hire the guy that has the best run scheme, that can be creative and go all in on that and be a team that just dominates on the ground. And I don't know if they have the personnel offensively on the offensive line anymore to do that going into the next year. I'm worried about Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson long-term with these injuries. Like everyone's assuming they're going to get healthy this offseason, be back to the players that they were in 2024. I don't know. Landon Dickerson was talking after the game that he doesn't even know if his body will ever return.
Yeah, I was alarmed. I had mentioned that earlier in the show, Kate. I was alarmed by Landon's.
Yeah, he seemed a little like dejected too.
Yeah,
like a little
very dejected,
down on himself. Like I think the number one priority is fixing the running game this offseason. And that's from a personnel perspective, and that's from a coaching perspective. So maybe it is Mike McDaniel, even though it is a drastic change. If you believe he's the guy that can get this run game going and unlock Saquon Barkley and like not just rely on, what does Saquon say? Saquon says, it's like the man in front of you, our job is to beat them, execute, whatever. But maybe you have a coach that gives them a significant schematic advantage. Maybe that's the thing that opens up this offense. So if that's the case, Zander, and they're not going to want to throw the ball and they're going to be conservative and protect the football, you got to fix the run game.
Yeah.
So with the best run game. And
definitely. I think that's the only difference between this year's offense and last year's offense, the run game. I really do. The pass game, I heard Kelsey talking about it, and I was shocked at how honest he was. Since the passing game has kind of stunk for 3 years, to be honest. 3 years. I say 2 years. He went to 3 years, and he's right.
It has, and it's been multiple different offensive coordinators. So then they kind of, is it a scheme? Is it? Or have they now found a coach that's gotten the most out of Jalen? I don't know what it is, but I think this is an offense that even if they get the passing game going a little bit next year, this is an offense that thrives, and Jalen thrives ultimately when the run game's better. And I think that should be the top priority. So could Cliff Kingsbury and Brian Dable bring good run games too? Possibly as well. But like that's why I do think Mike McDaniel is an option, even though I get the pushback on him with the,
well, I don't know. Hey, look, if you want to change the offense and you want to go to a different style of offense, I have no problem. There's no pushback from me with Mike McDaniel other than I don't see the fit currently. But, you get new personnel, you ship things, and you go in a different direction, and maybe it turns into a fit. But with the run game specifically, look, if this guy wants to come in and blow out Jeff Stoutland, I mean, all right, I'm always. Would you want an offensive coordinator that doesn't want to work with Jeff Stoutland? But he's a run game coordinator, as I pointed out. So he's probably got his own thoughts and his own concepts that are different than Jeff's. Obviously, they are different. So how does that marriage come together? I just don't. Maybe you're not going to fire Jeff Stoutland. So I said, maybe he retires, maybe he walks off into the sunset, but I don't see those two coexisting.
No, and I don't know if the Eagles are willing to move on from Jeff Stoutland. But what if you think Mike McDaniel is the answer? What if you think his run scheme is better than Jeff Stoutland's? What if I don't know? That is the question. I mean, obviously, this is a team that once won Super Bowls. They've moved on from players. They've moved on from coach. I don't think it's past. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to, but like, Jeff Stoutland's a legend. I get it, but like, if you think Mike McDaniel is the answer to unlocking your problems.
So we're going to play a spread offense with Jalen Hurts. Does anybody really?
I think he'd be good. I think he'd be good at that. By the way, I think he's better. He's best as a thrower. I'm talking as a thrower when the offense is spread. I think he's way better when they play empty. I think he's way better.
He doesn't really make quick throws, though, John. It's not really.
No, really but he can see things clear.
So are you presuming, though, that he would then make quicker throws because he could see things clear?
Well, I think he throws to open receivers, like a lot of collegey quarterbacks, as I call them. Collegey.
You're right.
They don't throw receivers open and that's what the West Coast offense. Like there's a lot of anticipatory throws. There's a lot of throwing the spots. There's a lot of trust. There's a lot of chemistry. There's a lot of throwing guys open. Whereas in the college game, if you're a college fan, I know you guys are, it's about throwing to open receivers. Oh, this guy's open. I'm going to throw the football there versus, all right, I'm going to throw the football before he comes out of his break. Does that sound like Jalen Hurts to you? I mean, like, what are we doing?
That's fair point. That's fair point. I mean, I don't know. He had a really low pressure rate in that playoff game, and he still takes 4.7 seconds to throw the ball. I mean, I get what you're saying, open receivers, but will Jalen get rid of the ball?
No, nobody's perfect.
His habits.
He will get rid of the ball if there's receivers open. So that's part of it. You got to get receivers open, but
yeah, and that might be the one thing about McDaniel. I mean, he schemes guys more open than the Eagles' current system, where I feel like it's not as schemed, where they expect Devontae Smith and AJ Brown to win their one-on-ones.
They're one-on-one. They're going to win on a hitch route.
Yes, and I think maybe McDaniel would make life easier for Jalen Hurts. It's just I don't think you need to worry about whatever you think Jalen Hurts is comfortable with. I throw that out the window. I mean, he's got to progress as a passer as he gets older, especially if he doesn't run as much, or whether that's from a health standpoint, they want to protect him, or he's not as effective. You got to get a coach in here that's going to challenge him and push him to grow in different directions with different areas, or he's not going to progress enough as a passer to the point where
maybe that's a valid point, Kaden, and maybe that's where the Eagles are. It's like evolve or don't, but if you don't, we got to start thinking about going in another direction.
Well,
not
maybe
immediately, but
maybe I have a broken perception on development. Obviously, players continue to develop. I mean, I heard a clip from Brady the other day. I was better at 35. I was best at 45 knowing the game. Obviously, you develop, but to me, you develop what you're good at. You get better at what you're good at. You don't recreate a skill set or add a skill set at 28. That's just my perspective. I don't know if I'm right. I might be wrong, but I don't know if Jalen evolves into something he's never been at this point in his career, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I see it.
I see that, but I guess the counter argument is like if what he is good at is like throwing hitch routes and certain vertical routes and there's not a lot of stuff over the middle. I'm not saying that's necessarily he can't do that stuff, but if that's what his comfort zone is truly and that's all he wants to do, doesn't that limit your offense in a sense because your quarterback doesn't want to do that? So if you have a quarterback that doesn't want to do those things, then it limits your offense and you can never really grow and take off as an offense, especially if he doesn't have the running element anymore. So I see your point. I mean, it would be a challenge. But I don't know if people should limit Jalen Hurts. Maybe he could do these things. I mean, he's shown the capability of throwing over the middle and being under center. He doesn't done it often, but maybe with the right coach that pushes him and challenges him, maybe it could develop in a couple of years and he really progresses as he gets older. I think that's what they need. They need Jalen Hurts to continue to develop as a passer.
Yeah, that's fair. We since the offensive coordinator and the offense having a poor season has sort of been the overriding story. We hardly talk about the defense, Kaden. They have some big decisions to make in free agency, one at each level. Jalen Phillips, Nakobe Dean, Reed Blankenship. Played the percentage game yesterday. I'll play it again with you. Those three specific free agents, 0 to 100%. We'll start with Jalen Phillips. Where are you on him being back?
50-50.
50-50. Okay.
I think he's a good player, but if you're in a market where Trey Hendrickson's the best pass rusher and he gets paid and he's the second best one and teams are like, hey, Jalen Phillips, $27 million a year. Like that's a little too rich for me. He doesn't finish enough. I think he gets pressures. He's really good at setting the edge. I think he's a good pass rusher, not an elite pass rusher, and I think they'll have a number. But because Vic likes him, they're comfortable.
Yeah, a lot of talk about the walkaway number. Who are we talking to? BLG said that yesterday. So I'm with you. I want him back, but if it gets too high, if I'm up in the high 20s, yeah, I got to walk away from that.
And you look at the free agency class in general this year. He's one of the best free agents in the entire class. This is not a good free agency class. So, and he's in his prime. He stayed healthy this year. I think he's gonna. Maybe teams will, knock him for the two previous years where he suffered season-ending injuries, but I expect him to get paid. I think the Eagles would want him back, though. I mean, obviously, Vic likes him, but I mean, you're going to have to play Quinion, you're going to have to play DeGene, you're going to have to play Carter, you're going to have to play Jordan Davis. Like, there are a lot of guys to pay here. So if he exceeds the number,
I want to get to Carter because of the injury, but before we get there, Nakobe and Reed percentages that they'll be back.
I hate saying this for Nakobe because he's a stand-up professional. He's awesome in the locker room. I mean, he's a great player too, but like 10%. Like I think Jahad Campbell's going to take over. I think Nakobe's gone. I think he's going to be a really good player wherever he goes, but I don't see a world where he comes back unless like his market's like so bad where he's getting like offers for like 1 year, $5 million, and they just he wants to be in Philly instead of going and playing in Vegas for that number. So I think very low though.
And Reed,
Reed
didn't have a great year, but Vic seems to love him. Traffic cop talks about him being the communicator, the leader of the secondary. But to me, I mean, he had a bad year. You can't pay him a lot.
No. I'd probably go like 50, or I'd probably go like 50-50 as well. Because like if he gets a large offer, I'm not matching Reed Blankenship. I think he's an average player. I mean, I think he's a good leader, and I think they respect him, and he is smart, but athletically, he's limited. Like, he's not a good coverage safety. He's not. He has shown the ability to be a playmaker, and he has good instincts. But like, again, it's going to be a number. But I get the value of him as a leader, and in that way. But 50-50 as well for Reed. Maybe a little higher because I don't know who's going to pay Reed Blankenship, and I think I looked at the safety class this year. It is one of the more deeper free agency groups, and like Reed's probably like the 5th or 6th best safety on that list. So maybe you can get him back at a reasonable cost.
And Jalen Carter, we talked about with the offensive line, and it's almost been like a thing where we all just default to, well, they got to pay Jalen Carter. Kaden, I got to kick the can down the road. I'm not giving him an extension. He got destroyed in the Chicago game because he's got no shoulders, and he got destroyed in the playoff game. He came back and he was a little bit better in the one game he played, which I guess was week 17, and then he took off week 18. He had a hip problem on top of the shoulders, and then he played really poorly against San Francisco in the playoffs. How can you play defensive tackle if your shoulders don't work? How concerned are you about that injury or injuries or whatever's going on with those shoulders?
Because I think decently concerned, and I agree with you. I'd wait an offseason. You don't have to pay him now. Why pay him? I get they want to get ahead of stuff, but if you're worried about the medical, you're worried about his long-term potential because of those injuries, I'd be hesitant. I mean, he looked good against Buffalo when he came back.
Yeah, he did.
He looked, but against San Fran, I think he was fine, but I don't think he was dominating.
He was good at all.
No, I mean, like the Jalen Carter we saw in the Rams last year saved the Eagles. I mean, that whole game I was watching, I saw San Fran driving, and I'm thinking Jalen Carter is going to have a moment. And like the moment's going to be big because he's their best defensive player in terms of talent. And like he's going to step up and he's going to sack Brock Purdy. And that's going to be the game-changing play. I mean, obviously they had the 2 picks from Quinion, but when San Fran was driving on that game-winning drive or the go-ahead drive, I thought Jalen Carter was going to do it again. And he did it. I mean, and Jalen Carter last year probably would have done that. He was so dominant. He just dominated the interior consistently. And this year he just wasn't the same player. In the Chicago game before they shut him down, like that was a rough game. He looked like a shell of himself. So if you're only getting 60% or 70% of what Jalen Carter was in 2024 moving forward, I'd be very nervous. I mean, I would want to see next year if he rebounds. If he rebounds next year and he looks like the player he was in 2024, then you hand him that massive contract. But I agree with you. And I think you're in a position where you also have Jordan Davis, who's a very good defensive tackle and a high-end starting caliber player. So I might pay him first. He's not going to cost as much. He's not going to break the bank and be the highest paid defensive tackle in history like people were talking about with Jalen Carter. So I'd pay him first at a reasonable salary. Obviously, you're going to pay him a good amount of money. And then I'd wait for Jalen Carter to really rebound to form. And if he does, then you hand him that massive contract that he wants. But it will be a discussion this offseason because I'm sure Jalen Carter and Drew Rosenhaus, I'm sure they want that contract now. And I wonder what they would do.
Kaden, good stuff, man. We appreciate you joining in today. Make sure you guys go and follow Kaden at Kaden_Steel19. All right, and read all his work at NJ.com. Kaden, we appreciate you joining today, man. We'll see what happens in the offseason. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, guys.
All
right. See you down there. Are you going? Did we pop him off? All right,
he's out of here. Yeah, I assume he's going down there. We'll see. Johnny Mac, they got the that's the news right now that just came out. I know we couldn't mention it earlier. Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni, right? We'll speak now today at what time? 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock, which means 2:15. But they will talk today. A lot of things to talk about. I'm not sure how many answers we're going to get, but a lot of questions asked, and you saw some of it. I mean, Jalen Carter's a big one. We haven't, because there's so much talk about the offense and the new offensive coordinator. We just don't talk about the defense. They have a lot of decisions to make on the defensive side of the football.
Tons.
Now they still have the core group of the young guys who have hit and played well, but yeah, I think they got to kick the can on some of these guys down the road. And to Caden's point, maybe because we all just defaulted to coming off the Super Bowl season. Well, Jalen Carter's going to get the extension. Well, he came back and he wasn't healthy, probably because but that's one of the issues with Drew Rosenhaus. You know, he played. We talk about the offensive line and Saquon Barkley and how it grinded them down. Well, it grinded Jalen Carter down to the point he's got no shoulders the year after.
Yeah. I don't know. Where I disagree with I know they have a lot of questions on defense in terms of paying people, but I disagree with you and Mike Gill. I mean, yesterday you guys were talking about how the defense wasn't that good in that game.
Well, comparatively speaking, speaking,
but that offense is the one that's not holding their weight. I mean, your defense.
Well, I agree over the
NFL.
long.
You know, They can't hold them under 20 every week.
I agree over the long haul, but we have these high expectations for the offense, which is shitty. Why aren't there high expectations? High expectations.
23, not a
defense?
good number. That's fine.
Well, it's more about giving up the drive to lose the game. Like, for whatever you say about the offense, they took the lead, and then you gave it back,
and they had another chance to take the lead,
and they moved the football, and they came up empty in the end. But that again, the smaller margin again. If you have those high expectations for the offense, which everybody does, I think you'll admit that, Zander, it's absolutely unrealistic.
Yes.
Why aren't they more realistic for the defense that actually performed at a high level?
Well, because the defense has done it, has carried its weight. The offense is the one who has it.
Well, not at the end of that game, they didn't. That's all I'm saying.
But John, the offense.
Where are the expectations?
The offense performs even half of their expectation, and you're not in that position in the first place. I don't think that game needed to come down to the last drive where the defense ultimately buckled. I don't. If the offense could fucking move the ball and get points on the board, we wouldn't be having these concerns.
Well, it's a 19-17 game after Jake Elliott makes a whatever it was. It was like an extra point field goal, 33 yards. 19-17 with 8 minutes to go. And it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 play drive. 11 play drive.
Played above what their expectation was. That that changed what the. No,
I'm saying keep the same. I'm saying keep the same energy for the defense as the offense.
Yeah, but they were never the. I don't know how to explain. I get what you're saying, but
that's a bad. A championship team with a championship defense, as Jeffrey Lurie called it, and it was everybody's going to call it a very good defense. I think they overachieved and played a lot better than I thought. But I'm not talking about the season as a whole. I'm talking about the biggest moment of the season, and they got the lead, and they gave up a long drive to a very limited. From a health standpoint, San Francisco team, with Brock Purdy dropping back pretty much every play.
That's fine.
Again, pass rush, and we're talking about. And I want Jalen Phillips back. Jalen Carter, you hope he gets healthy.
I get what you're saying, but they had 2 takeaways in the second half of the playoff game. The offense got 3 points out of it. Like, I get what you're saying. Yes, in the drive, they folded in that moment.
Well, that's what
that only is made possible because of the ineptitude of that offense to score points. That's how I see it.
Well, that's fine, but they took the lead. They were behind and they took the lead. The shitty offense took the lead.
So here, if you start here, the defense raised it like this, and this made the offenses go like that. All right, we no longer expect if you get 19 points, then that should be enough. The defense should be able to do the rest.
Well, my point is, okay, you go through a whole season where the defense has been better than most people projected. And you say, well, they've done their job. And you go through a whole season and you say the offense is shitty and it's underachieved, and you're still expecting it to be something different in the biggest moment in the biggest game of the playoffs. Like, you don't see the disconnect I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're the ones who proved that they're only going to get to 19 points. Like they're pretty consistent.
Yeah, and I think ultimately that was the problem, though. But I get what you're saying. They won games with the defense, and that you knew that was going to happen from the offense.
And they took the lead with 8 minutes left, and they didn't hold the lead.
I don't know. Well, so you got to talk to Howie today. What's on your mind? What do you got to talk to him about? What do you think?
Number one, you got to ask about Kevin Patullo and the idea of continuity that Jalen Hurts has expounded on many times over the years versus the lack of patience. And then secondly, is he a part of the organization still? Which is not clear because he was not fired. So you have to get through all those logistics. And then later you start asking about the players. And, I think Jalen Carter is a big topic. Is Lane going to be back is a big topic. But obviously, right off the bat, you got to talk about what went on with Kevin and what is going on with Kevin. I mean, again, maybe they clarify today he is fired and he is gone. But
I think they probably will.
That has not been, so you got to clear that up. Number one,
I don't think he's going to give you anything on Carter in those contracts, right? He never does.
Well, he doesn't talk about contracts, but you can ask about, where they think he is from a health standpoint and that part and how that impacts potential things down the road.
Is there a question on Jalen Hurts in there today about?
Well, I'm sure always about the quarterback, but it's stunningly down the list because of what's going on with the coaching staff. I mean, that's going to be the overriding part of it. And what's going on.
To me, that would be the number one question. I get it. Everybody wants to replace Patullo. I understand why that has to be the top question, but why do we have to replace Patullo? Why do we keep having to fire a coordinator? We fired 2 coordinators in 3 years. It's either boom or bust. Why? Why is our offense, bottom of the league with the type of talent that we believe we've assembled? Because I know Howie believes. You might think that we overrate the talent, which you might be right about. I know Howie thinks he assembled a good offense. Why do they keep coming up short? Why do they look the way they do? Why do they are unable to move the ball consistently? How much does the quarterback have to play in that? I get it. Howie's probably not going to answer any of that.
Yeah. There's a certain. Yeah, I get fans' frustration, but I mean, you're not going to ask why the quarterback can't. If you ask things that way, you're not going to get any answers. You're just going to get an angry general manager. So the goal is to get them talking. Now, in the case of Nick, as is usual, when you have Nick and Howie, 90% of it or more is going to go towards Howie. And that's because we don't get Howie as much, number one. Plus also with the personnel aspect of it in the offseason, he becomes the leader of the organization. Then he hands it back.
And I don't like doing this because I'm not telling you obviously how to do your job. I don't need to do that. You know that. I'm not. But like you said, you don't want to get him angry and the job is to get him talking. I agree. You want to get him talking, but if him being angry is
no, it's not about not wanting. It's not.
You know what I mean? But you get what I'm saying? Like they failed on reaching expectations for a litany of reasons. If that means that Howie ends up angry at a question, then I mean, fuck.
Well, if I use the term angry, because I get the fan perspective, that was the wrong word. The goal is to not get the guy to shut down. The goal is to get him speaking.
Right.
The goal is to get him talking. You're always adversarial as a reporter. You always ask after the game. I asked Jalen Hurts what happened on the 4th down.
Right. I get
I asked Nick about Kevin Patullo. All these questions are asked if you listen to these press conferences. What you're not going to get is unprofessionalism for the most part, because you're not there to grandstand. You're not there to make yourself the story, which is why I regret telling someone to shut up at some point, because it's not about me. And I apologize to Vic because it was Vic's press conference. It's not about us. It's about getting these guys to talk. And unfortunately, Howie's very experienced and he's going to deflect things well. But, the easiest way to get him to not talk is to be disrespectful, and nobody's there to be disrespectful. It's supposed to be a professional environment.
Yeah,
that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit if Howie's angry at me or not. Plenty of times he's been angry at me, I'm sure. Nobody's afraid of being angered at,
No, I know that. I just mean like it's a professional environment. I agree, but when there are tough questions, like how to go about it, I guess, is an art. All right, John. We'll see what they say at 2:00. Man, maybe me and you will speak a little later on today after they do that.
All right, sounds good. Thanks all.
All right, Johnny Mac. Thank you, brother. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. Good show today from Johnny Mac. Appreciate all you guys doing it. Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni will speak today at 2 p.m. So we'll hear what they have to say. All right, good to see everybody in here. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? We the people. Anthony, that's what I'm saying, man. We want answers. All right, we want answers. We want answers on this. Rap Sheet was right. They're castrating Nick. They probably are. Love the show. I prefer to listen to it because Xander's face is annoying to look at. Your name is Doo Crew. Your lady must love me. That's what that means. Oh, man. Every time you turn the show on the TV, your girl is oohing and ahhing. That must be what's going on there. Hate to see it for you. Here's Pump. Rob Saleh said they used the same game plan against the offense back in 23. So these idiots didn't even go back and change shit up. Fireable offense. Yeah, same shit. Here's JD3. All these guys who want a play calling head coach are going to be very upset to know that if Sirianni gets fired, Michael Clay is next. What do you mean, Michael Clay will get fired? I mean, he's a special teams coordinator. I don't think that's keeping anybody up at night. Worst Behavior says, would you say Nick is a good game manager? Every game, win or lose, comes down to a flip of the coin. He plays not to lose with a 3-point lead. It's a good point, Worst, but a lot of games in the NFL are like that. A lot of games are one-score game, and so we will see. We will see what happens. All right, we will see what happens. We will see what happens. I don't think Nick is a bad. I don't think Nick is as bad of a coach as people make him out to be. I really don't. I mean, anybody who can, you're going to win 50, whatever, or 70% of your games, 50 plus, whatever it is. I don't know how many wins he's up to now. 70% of your games, with. I just don't think you can call that guy a shitty coach. Man, maybe you can say that it's because of other things more than Nick. That's fine, but. Whenever they've tried to do the other things that everybody wants them to do, which is bring in a new offense, it hasn't worked, and they had to go back to what Nick did because what Nick did worked better. Prime example is the first 4 games last year. They brought in Kellen because they believed the noise that they needed to get the pro-style offense. They needed to pass the football better. They needed to do all these things. Well, they bailed on it after 4 games, and then they went to win a Super Bowl. I mean, you just brought up 23. They'd run the same shit. Yeah, well, everybody told me that the play call was Kevin Patullo. Kevin Patullo is the dumbest guy on the planet, apparently, because they ran that play on 4th and 11. Here's Robert Saleh at his press conference. Yeah, I got that from 23. They did the same shit. Was it Kevin Patullo then, too? I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was, right? Peter says, let's get this offseason started and be happy about it. Peter, this is Philadelphia. Happy. I don't want to be happy about shit. I love being miserable. I love complaining about shit. Can't you tell? Kareem says, I have animosity towards Hurts. No, I have animosity towards one of the worst fucking offenses I've ever laid eyes on. I have animosity toward the fact that watching my own favorite team makes me want to dig my fingers into my eyeballs and rip them out of my head. All right? That's what I have animosity toward. If you want to take it as Jalen, so be it. He's the quarterback, Kareem. He's your boy. He's the quarterback, Kareem. Come on, man. Come on. You say the Chargers fail on expectations. What do you say? It's Justin Herbert. You say Joe Burrow's never won a Super Bowl. What do you say? It's Joe Burrow. You say Josh Allen doesn't get the job done. It's Josh Allen. In Philadelphia, it's everybody but the quarterback. I know, Kareem. You're fathead. What can you do with it? You wasted $150 on the fathead. You can't blame him. I know, I got animosity. I know, Kareem. Sound like another low IQ idiot. Here's Tony. The offense was not watchable this year. I get more excited watching. Oh, no doubt, Tony. No doubt, Tony. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, Tony? There's not. It's. I mean, you take the bathroom break when the offense comes on the field. Take the bathroom break. Not Kareem. Kareem likes to be tortured. What's that called? What is that called? Is it masochist or something? What's that goofy show? Yes, masochist. That's what it is. Kareem might be a masochist. He loves torturing himself with this offense. Oh, my gosh. This offense is so bad. Look how good our quarterback is. We have one of the worst offenses in the league. Our quarterback is so good. It's like, what? What the fuck are we smoking? I think we're smoking it like all collectively in this city. We're smoking a load of crack or something. Peyote, whatever you want to call it. Ayahuasca, maybe. Who knows, man? Who knows? Who knows? It's all fun. It's all in good fun. I'm bringing back truth, justice, and fun sports talk. All right. Kareem says, are you going to come back to the bandwagon when Jalen rebounds next year and play quiet? Yeah, probably because the defense is going to be great and the run game will be great again. T-Tom, is 4 games enough of a sample size to say it don't work? No, it's not, T-Tom. But it's been 5 years with Jalen as a starter, dude. I mean, 4 games is just with the passing coordinator. I thought that was corny as hell, Roll. Roll says, Z, what do you think about Patullo pillow talking with Fitzpatrick, claiming it's not his fault? Yeah, that's well, I don't know, Roll. Like, I get it. We rip Patullo because it's easy and it's fun. But just try and, like, put yourself in Patullo's shoes for 1 second, Roll. I know. Nobody wants to do that because nobody gives a shit about Patullo. But this is a guy who's got a career. He's got a family. Like, this is his livelihood, and he comes in here. He's running not his offense. The quarterback doesn't want to run anymore. The offensive line, which was the star of the team, falls off a cliff. Your star running back isn't the same player. They run the exact same offense. The only thing that's different is they can't run the ball and they can't execute. And now this guy's fired and talked about to the point where he might never get a job again in the league. So can you see from a personal perspective why he would try and do that? I think it's corny, but I can understand at least empathize or sympathize. I don't know what the fucking word would be there. Sympathize with what he's doing, or at least understand what he's doing, Kareem says, are you done with Jalen Hurts? No, I just want him to fucking play better, Kareem. Is that hard? Is that too mean to your boyfriend, Kareem? Is that too mean, brother? You let me know. If I'm too mean to your boyfriend, you let me know. Maybe I'll take my foot off the gas, all right? I'll calm down a little bit if it's too mean. All right? I'll calm down a little bit. Curtis says, Zander, I like the evolve or die approach for Jalen. I want a new offense, and if Jalen can't handle it, we can move on. Curtis, we'll see. If they hire Mike McDaniel, that's exactly what they're doing. That is exactly what they're doing. And you'll find out quick. DeWoo Z, did you see Foles? Yeah, what's my boy? Gary, I think I forgot to answer you, Gary. But Gary sent me it. I did watch it. Yeah, it's dope. It was really good. Foles is good. B. Preston, what's up, my brother? Appreciate you being here, man. All right. Appreciate you being here. That's why they didn't fire him, because they're trying to help him get a new gig. Yeah, because they know he wasn't the problem. Was he good? No. Was he the problem number one? Hell no. Easy to scapegoat, though. Foles for QB coach? I'd be in on that, Gary. I'd be in on that. I doubt they'll do it, though. Kyle says, Xander, you see the Giants hired Harbaugh? Yo, Kyle, did you hear me yesterday, Kyle, on Xander Time? I put out an explicit message to Howie Roseman. And this is precisely why, Kyle. You look at the AFC and you see a bunch of new teams, a bunch of new faces in the playoffs. You look at the NFC, the Bears go from a 4-win team to the winner in the NFC North. You look at the way things change in the NFL. It moves at rapid speed. Rapid speed. Now you got the Giants who hired Harbaugh, who isn't my favorite coach, but here's what he is. He's competent, and he's going to win football games. They're not going to be the 4-win Giants for the next 3 years. You cannot rest on your laurels this offseason. This is not the year for everybody to sit down and just say, well, we're the Eagles. We got great players. We'll be back next year. We'll be back next year. No, don't do that shit. I'm telling you right now, don't do that. You got to play this like you're the Giants. Be aggressive. Make the moves you need to make. Don't placate to anybody. Don't placate to fans. Don't placate to my boy Kareem in the chat. Don't placate to Jeff. Whatever you have to do, because I know that Howie is good at this shit. That's one thing I know. Howie Roseman's a hell of a general manager. He knows how to see the game now. He's learned so much. He's made changes. I think he's a great general manager. You got to improve relentlessly if I'm the Eagles. I think it's better for them to have the mindset that they absolutely suck than that they're a top team in the league. Go and be great. You got to make moves. Don't sit here and rest. You know, that's how I view it. I would be looking at the Giants like a team that's going to win 10 ball games. I'd be looking at the Cowboys like a team that's going to win 10 or 11 ball games. I'd be looking at the Commanders the same way. The NFC East sucked this year, didn't it? Eagles got bounced in round 1 by the Niners. Cowboys sucked as always. Giants sucked as always. And the Commanders fell off the proverbial cliff. I would take the approach, everyone's going to be back at the top next year. What do we have to do to give ourselves the advantage? What do we have to do to put ourselves ahead of the competition? What do we have to do to knock off the NFC West, which had 3 teams in the playoffs, 3 teams now in the final 4 in the playoffs, not in the wild card, 3 teams in the final 4. Rams, Niners, Seahawks. There's 4 teams left in the NFC. 3 of them are in the West. So I'm going hard this offseason. Now, again, I don't know exactly what to do because I'm not an NFL GM. Howie's better at this shit than me. He's better at it than all of us. He's better at it than everybody in the league who does the same job as him. So I have trust in Howie Roseman. But politics and business comes into play when you're doing this, you know, and sometimes you won't make moves because you have contracts, or sometimes you won't make moves because of, you know, the optics. I would flush all that shit down the toilet. Got to go in. Got to go all in. Got to go all in. Here's Celso. Just can't get behind John blaming the defense for that. Oh, me neither, Celso. I mean, I get it. They didn't make the stop in the moment, but you don't get to that moment if your offense isn't inept. They had 2 takeaways. Celso, the defense had 2 interceptions in the second half of the game. Is that not hand delivering it to you on a silver platter? I mean, that speaks right to Nick Sirianni's philosophy. Win the turnover battle. Well, your defense gave you 2 of them in the second half. 2 of them. You got 3 points. You got 3 points. If the defense folds, don't put it on the damn defense. I get it. You want them to get the stop. You also want the offense to do something as well when they're given opportunities. 23. We got the 23rd overall pick in the first round. 23rd overall pick, Preston. 23rd overall pick. Peter says, Zander, I love your energy, my brother. Peter, thank you, brother. Appreciate you for being here. As always, man. As always. So, woo! Howie and Nick are speaking today. Will there be good questions? I don't know. You guys tell me. You know, when you have a great understanding of how to read the tea leaves, okay, this is what you got to accomplish. You don't have to be an insider to understand exactly what's going on with the Eagles. What you have to do is you have to know how to read between the lines. Not everything that's reported is how it's reported on the surface is the truth. Not every narrative that's put out, wherever it comes from, national, local, coach, team, GM, quarterback, not every narrative is as it's reported or as it's talked about or as it's put out. You have to be reading between the tea leaves. That's why you're here on JAKIB Sports. I hope you do that. I hope you do that. Reading between the lines is very important. If you want to be an educated fan when you're viewing it. Some people don't. Some people would prefer, there's the old saying. I get it. Ignorance is bliss, right? It is. You don't know what's going on. You show up. The Eagles win most of their Sunday games, and you're all jacked up. That's fine, too. There are some people who like to do that. All right? There are some people who prefer to see it that way. I've never been that type of guy. I've always been a little bit of like to look at find what the truth is, in every area. And that's what we'll be doing here. Zander, who do you want to be the quarterback? I want Jalen Hurts to be the quarterback. I want him to be better. All right? Kareem. And if it doesn't work this year, Kareem, guess what? Fire up the hot seat. Fire up the hot seat. Here's Abe. What's up, Abe? Zander, let's say we do get Mike McDaniel. Does AJ stay or does letting AJ leave for us to see how will Jalen perform without stars? I think AJ should stay because you're not getting better, folks. If anybody thinks you're going to be a better football team without AJ Brown than with him, I got a bridge to sell you. But where I do understand, where I think is a serious variable in that is can't act like AJ's mentality doesn't exist. Like Ed Kracz brought up a great point today. Did A.J. Brown drop passes because he's not as good of a player? Or did A.J. Brown drop passes because the complaining led to a different approach? The different approach led to a lack of focus. The lack of focus lowered his effort. The lower effort results in balls hitting off your hands when you're A.J. Brown. You got some of the best hands in the game. So that stuff trickles. And then you got young, impressionable players who look at AJ, see that he sees problems. Then they start to see the problems. Then it starts to affect their focus and their mentality and their approach to the game. And then it's a ripple effect. All it takes is one bad thing. If you have a pristine, now this is going to be a vulgar example, but if you have a pristine cup of water, or in my case, a nice cup of Dunkin', okay? If you have a pristine cup of Dunkin', okay, and you take one drop, even a small little drop, one drop of water from the sewer, and you drop it in my Dunkin', well, it's just one drop, right? No, you ruined the whole fucking cup of Dunkin'. You ruined the whole fucking cup, okay? So one little thing can make a big difference. That's why details are so important. Okay? Abe, appreciate you, brother, as always. Zander, can you imagine McDaniel's offense with Saquon's receiver? Curtis, I assume you're being facetious here. Kareem, what are you talking about? Everybody called me the AJ fanboy because I defended AJ Brown. I defended AJ all year, but it gets to a point where you're dropping passes in the playoff games. Obviously, the lack of focus has gotten to you. Okay, Curtis, just making sure. Curtis, you teeter between being extremely sarcastic or extremely pissed off that the offense blows. I got to figure out what Curtis I'm talking to. All right. Made it better. Duncan is whack. Oh, bullshit, Reyes. Spoken like a true Texan. Guy lives in Texas. Guy's never even seen Guy's never even seen the city of Philadelphia. All right? He's never even seen the city of Philadelphia. He's never smelled that Philadelphia stank once in his life. Telling me that Duncan stinks. America runs on Duncan, bitch. What are you drinking? Bucky's coffee? You and Roll Philly. Bucky's coffee? Yeah, I did, Ro. I saw Avant. I saw Jason Avant rip AJ. I did. That stank smell is our offense. Yeah, it might be. Dunkin' has the highest caffeine. There you go. There you go, Swagger. I need the caffeine. All right. I don't know. Their glazed donuts are pretty good. All the other ones are trash. I'm not a big Dunkin' guy, but I got a glazed one, like a Jalen Hurts glazed donut. You guys ever heard of one of those? They might start selling them. That's the rumor. You got a glazed donut and you got a Jalen Hurts fathead put in the middle of it. So people like Reyes will finally start eating Dunkin' Donuts. Their glazed are pretty good. I can't lie. I've never been a huge donut guy. I mean, I'm not, Yes, Brandon, good. Blueberry donut. You know what else is good? People are going to go nuts at that. Sour cream donuts are fucking incredible. Yeah, it's like, but that's if you get, you guys are probably getting the ones that are like one layer of pink frosting and sprinkles on top, like a toddler. You got to get, it's blueberry, it's sour cream, or it's glazed because they're covered in glaze, like the Jalen Hurts fanboys. They're covered in glaze. Pause, no diddy. I know Keese is about to come out of the woodwork. Yo, Pawsy! All right, Keese, just go ride your fucking camel into the sunset, my guy. Have you ever had one, Roll? Have you ever had a sour cream donut? You've never had one. All right? You've never had one, I can tell. It's not what you think. It's not like the sour cream you put on a taco or in a Mexican bowl. It's not like that. I'm talking fucking elite donut here. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. Sour cream donuts giving real Diddy vibe. I agree it sounds like that, Brian, but it's not what it sounds like, I promise. All right? All right, guys. I am sick of this offense not living up to expectation. I need answers from Howie and Nick today. Who do you think is going to be the OC? Let's see. Let's gauge the people. Todd Monken is out. He is in New York to help that pinball machine, Jackson Dart. Guy's like a pinball. All right. How do you hate Roll Philly? How do you hate sour cream? Come on, man. I know, Bruce. Don't I know it? They ain't answering shit. Is right. Dawood, what up, Dawood? Dawood's had some good comments today, as always. Dawood's had some good comments today. Xander, what are you listening for from Howie and Nick today? If they say anything that's not a crock of bullshit, which might be like 1 or 2% of that, those comments. Monken was Jalen's only. I don't feel like that. Look, Jalen's got to play better. All the Jalenites, you guys got to admit it. I don't care. You can put it on the offense. You can put it on Patullo. You can put it on Nick. You can put it on Saquon. I don't really give a shit who you put it on. Jalen Hurts is in year 6 or year 7 as a quarterback. He touches the ball every single play. Some of the offense having to get better falls on him. You can get mad at me. You can name call me. I don't really care. Your words have no power over me. I don't give a flying fuck. The offense is underachieving. And until it's not, Jalen Hurts will be a topic of conversation. Maybe conversation that you don't like. That's okay. That's okay. All right. We'll see what ends up happening. 10:30. I got to run. I got some shit to do. I got a lot of stuff in the works. I got some shit to work on. By the way, my computer crapped. I had to buy myself a new computer. So I got to set that up, but I got to go and get a monitor. So I went home run. Anybody who knows tech, I'm going to show you what I got. Where's the name? The Mac Studio. Okay? Thing is unopened. Didn't even open it yet. I got to go and buy a monitor. I want the Apple one, but it's like $2,000 for a monitor. I'm like, what the fuck? All right. Computer's crapping out. I don't know, Twiz. That's a nice computer, bro. M4 Max in that sucker. Big RAM. Come on, man. LG Pro Art 6K. What's that running me? I like the Apple one. It's not big enough, the Apple one. It's 2 Gs. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. You know, Gary, I sit here at this big-ass desk. Part of me wants a humongous curved one. Like, give me like a fucking 47-inch massive curved one, dude. That's what I'd like. But yeah, you know, your computer craps right at the end of the season. I told you guys it was coming, didn't I? I told you I needed to get a new one. This is like a Super Mac Mini. That's what it is. You need a high PPI. Yeah, like how much, Gary? Because I was looking at this. Why can't you just use a Twiz, you want me to put a 50-inch flat screen in front of me? I'm going to be sitting here like this. I don't want to do that. Yeah, that's right, Gary. I was looking it up, and the one I like, the Dell, there's a crazy Dell one that came out. I think it's pretty good PPI-wise, which is pixels per inch for all you diddlers out there. I don't know. What's this Dell one? Redneck type shit. You guys are fucking weird. You know what? I'm going to take Gary's advice because I know what Gary does. Okay? Some of you knuckleheads in the chat. All right? I've done well building a business around what I do for my computers. I'll be good to build out my own computer. Thank you very much. Boda, I'm not doing it. I'm unfortunately I am in the Apple ecosystem. I'm in too deep. Look, phone, no case. Obviously, anybody who has a case on their phone is a knucklehead. iPad, ironically, has a case, but I like the thing because it folds. Boom, put it up. iPad. What do we got? Oh, iPad's dead right now. Let me plug it in. Look, let me plug it in over here to a MacBook Pro. I'm operating on an iMac. I have a Mac Studio there. I mean, I got the only thing I don't use is a stupid Apple Watch. Those things are so stupid. I'm out on an Apple Watch, folks. I got my Breitling. No need for an Apple Watch. I got enough screens. Now I need one on my fucking wrist? No, thank you. No, thank you. Same slagger. Exactly right. iPhone, iPad, got to have the Mac computer. It all connects. It all connects. You know? It all connects. But I dropped a pretty big bag on that freaking Mac Studio. I dropped a pretty big bag on that thing. And now I got to go get a monitor. I'm like, damn, this is an expensive setup. But, you know, I'm building out the home studio. It's going to be a long-term setup on a bunch of different things that I'm launching and working on. So, I'm excited for it, honestly. Get that super chat. Let me get it. All right, here's Fleming. How many times do you think Howie says good players and tools in his body today? 4.5. I'll put the over under at. J-Mac gaslighting. I know he is. Apparently, it's the defense's fault. Oh, John. Oh, John. Yeah, right. It's the defense. They got 2 picks in the second half of the fucking playoff game. The offense sucks. It sucked all year. That's the reality. Xander, how did you get that? I just ordered it. I forget what the company was. I wish I got bigger, though. Like when I was, well, they were expensive. So every time you got like a bigger size, they gave you a new quote. It was expensive as shit. So, no, I'm getting a house soon, Brian. Well, I don't know. I might rent. I don't know. It's a tough situation. But it's not big enough. It's nice, though. I wish it was bigger, though. I wish I got like a fucking huge one. Jimbo, maybe I'll auction it off. Maybe I'll auction it off if there's no space for it in my new studio. That's coming soon. I've been Angela. I've been to Frangeli's. I've been there. That's a great spot. I love a nice Italian deli, a little Italian market. Zeal, no, I make the decisions. I set the macro. Let her fill in the blanks. Bald Eagle says Apple is simply a status thing. I literally don't give a royal fuck about status. What are you talking about? Status? What fucking status? I'm building a business. I need something that works. I'm in the ecosystem. Status? Status with who? Oh, yeah, I give a fuck what Bald Eagle 5 thinks about the computer I use. You're right, they become the mainstream, but I don't give a rat's ass about status. I mean, they do work well. For all the Apple people out there who are haters, I mean, they do work well, guys. They're good computers. I know. It's like Swagger. What does that even make sense? You think I'm bringing people in off the street to look at my rig? I know. Here, all right, this is a better comment. Bald Eagle, if you led with this, I would have laughed. Apple is like the Eagles' offense. Overpriced and overrated. There you go. I like that better. But hey, Ryan, don't disrespect my fiance like that. All right? Ryan, you nerd. Does make a good sandwich, though. Xander, build your... Thanks, Jimbo. Appreciate your vote of confidence, Jimbo. Apple user experience is effing better than... Exactly, Ray. These nerds don't want to admit it. Oh, I like a pixely screen. I like viruses all over my computer. I like when I have to restart for an update every 3 days. I like all these things. No, you don't. I actually think it's more of a status thing for people who act like Apple is the worst company in the world. It's like, I'm an Apple hater. Gotta use... It's like Twiz. Twiz comes in here. Apple sucks. Gotta get my Android phone. All right, Twiz. You're so cool, bro. So sick, Twizzler. Sick phone, brah. I don't give a shit. I just want something that works. This phone's 3 years old. I never bought the new one. Oh, here's Gary, you sent me the $6,000 one. That one's so sick. Those two. All right, let me look at this one. Ooh, that LG one's kind of intriguing. A little pricey. Wait, why is the 40-inch one cheaper? Oh, it's $5K, not $6K. Wait, Gary, click that Amazon link you sent me. And click on the 40. Does the 40, well, you think the 40 would work well? I got to research. I'm going to do some research after the show today. I'm gun shy. I don't feel like fucking spending the money. I just spent 2 G's on that. I know. Why'd you buy it if you don't get the, why'd you buy it? But we talking computers? I feel like I'm in Best Buy right now talking to the Geek Squad. You are the fucking Geek Squad, my guy. You are the Geek Squad, my guy. Yeah, 4K. I think it's 5, but yeah, it'll be pixelated. I don't want that. I look at the computer too much. But all right. Let's go, Jalen Hurts. Let's go, Jalen Hurts. Gary, I'm on 27 now. It's tiny. I know what Geek Squad is. It's in Best Buy. I go to Best. I love Best Buy, Rolf. It's one of my favorite stores, dude. I'll go in Best Buy and walk around Best Buy. I find so much shit to buy. Pause, Gary. Jalen Hurts assemble. Yes, Roll Philly. That means you. Were you a Wentzite too? Xander, just wanted to tell you. I know, Big Mike. I'm aware. Jalen Hurts wants 6K 50-inch, but they'll defend a 20-inch and 720. Dude, this John in like 4. And what's the other one? 480. This John like. I love Micro Center too, Boda. Micro Center's fire. LG 5K. There you go. That's a good one. Am I a McKeister? I don't know if I'm a McKeister. All right, I'm out of here. I'm done talking to you knuckleheads right now. I'll probably go live with John after these guys talk. Who knows when, but because I got Cilio too, who'll be on the air at the time. So we'll see. All right. Xander at the Senior Bowl? I don't think I'm doing that. Jimbo, I got higher value shit I need to attend, unfortunately. Maybe I'll send you on. So we'll see. All right. Love all you guys. Appreciate all you guys. Good Xander time, as always. A lot of energy. All right. Money I'm spending, though. This is my biggest problem with upgrading the vet right now. Tires I don't need. Tires are good right now. Wheels I need. 2 racks. Get wheels and tires. You're looking at 2 to 3 racks. Wheels and tires, you're looking at 5 to 6 racks. Exhaust, but the exhaust setup I want is Fab Speed. It's $10,000. I mean, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying here, Preston? I had to buy the damn computer because this thing's crapping out. So the expenses are racked up over my head right now. This is why I need to make cash. But we'll make it. We'll get there. Owning a car sucks. No, it doesn't, man. I love owning a car. I'm about to get a cracking, though, on ZK's Garage. All right, love all you guys. Hit the damn like button on your way out. Brian Fleming, no comment. No comment, B. Flem. I'm out of here. See you next time, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.